Good morning. We resume with our hearings. Today we will start with the Council for Black Market Agents. I know that we are starting slightly late. I think I was informed the stakeholders were slightly delayed. So I would ask the technical team to engage stakeholders that are to appear before us to arrive here on time so that it doesn't affect our schedule for the day. I will hand over to Mr. Derek Bowles.
Thank you, Chair. Morning, everyone. I think let's just start, please, with your full names and designations for the record, please.
Thomas Mawasha from the Council of Black Market Agents. With me on my right-hand side is Gilbert Katu Nezanani. He's the chairperson of the Council for Black Market Agents.
All right. Thank you. Maybe just in terms of housekeeping, we've divided the session up into two, with the first 30 minutes being allocated to you to at least provide some insight into the work that you do and maybe provide us with your views on the market as well. The second portion of the session will then be with the technical team, led by myself. We'll pose some questions to you and we'll have some engagement. All right. I think before we start, there's an oath and affirmation which is placed in front of you. I think it's a laminated document. It might be under your file there. Do you have any objection in taking the oath? Not. Then can you please just state your names and just read that for the record, please.
I swear that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Thank you, Mr. Mawasha. All right. So the first theme is relatively general. Can you maybe just explain the process of selling fresh produce at the NFPMs from the perspective of market agents, the members that you represent?
Thank you, Derek. I had thought that we were going to be given at least the first session, a few minutes to.
That's right.
Basically set the scene before maybe we can go into the.
Yes. Sorry. The question was really just as an introduction. So
thank you so much.
The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And let me start by apologizing profusely for running late. We were delayed at the printers. We were not aware that there will be a file already prepared for us. But also we underestimated the amount of time it will take us to get accredited with the security. It is not out of disrespect. I want to apologize profusely for that. Thank you. My name is Thomas Mawasha, as I've indicated. I'm the director of Council for Black Market Agent. With me is Gilbert Nezanani. He's the chairperson of the Council of Black Market Agent and one of the two directors, I think, of 100% black-owned market agencies that are trading at Joburg Market. We've prepared, a statement to basically, formally, introduce ourselves, but also in terms of the field that we are in. Some of you may be aware that around about 2006, the National Agricultural Marketing Council, which is a state-owned enterprise tasked with advising the Minister of Agriculture on issues pertaining to the marketing of agricultural commodities. They set up, or they concluded rather, a Section 7 investigation on national fresh produce market. Their main concerns were three. And one was the apparent slow pace of transformation at national fresh produce market. Two was the market access problems highlighted by black producers then. So the evidence also of a declining competitiveness, and the efficiency of national fresh produce market in terms of providing services to low-income consumers. In the main, the informal traders was also, a concern. What the study did is it made a recommendation, and part of the recommendation was to basically issue 4 targets that were to be achieved by 2014. And the targets were in the main: 1, 30% of produce that is traded at national fresh produce market should be traded through black market agents. 2 was that at least 25% of existing market agencies, must have real BEE participation. 3 is that every market must identify at least 5 black salespeople of reputation and ability to become market agents. And 4 was that 50% of the market masters or the CEOs that are leading the markets must be black. Some 17 years later, only 1 target has been achieved. And we're talking of a target of transforming, the top layer, the leadership, at the market. The rest are still in the air. Currently, as we speak, less than 1% of fresh produce that is traded in national fresh produce market comes from black market agents, and by extension, black producers. To illustrate the point, turnover for national fresh produce market as a channel in the past financial year that ended now, June 2023, was 22.6 billion. That was the turnover of the 16 national fresh produce markets that we have, in the country. Of that 22.6 billion, 1.1 billion, which is 5%, is what went to the market authorities. These are in the main the shareholders, your municipalities that operate and run the markets. About 1.7 billion, which is about 7.5%, is what accrued to market agents. The balance of the money, which is about 19.8 billion, it works out to about 87.5%, is what was paid to the farmers in the country, the producers, and the owners of the products. Of the 1.7 billion commission that was paid to the market agents, black market agents in the country accounted for less than 1%. Same applies to the 19.8 billion that was paid to the farmers, the producers or the owners of the product. Less than 1% of that money went to black producers. So the black market agents and farmers, by extension, they are precluded from benefiting, from this, channel that we call national fresh produce market. As regards, the trade floor, as we speak now, 98% of market agents or sales people are white, male-dominated. Very few blacks, women and youth, play a role in this sector. You can go there, visit the markets, you'll see it, for yourself. These are not allegations, but are facts. So black market agents are struggling to break the racial pattern. It's what basically, we've come to, realize. Because this is an industry where white commercial farmers continue their long historical relationship with established white market agents. And they are unwilling to allow new players, obviously, to, enter, the field. They hide behind, it's a free market economy. As a producer, I've got the right to decide where I can take my products and who can sell the products on my behalf. And I think we need to investigate, that aspect, to say to what extent does it impact, transformation in the country. We know that, it's white people that have got access to land, they've got access to capital, and without those 2 aspects, the rights, water rights, you are not able to produce, at least on a large scale, It doesn't matter how qualified, you are. It's a fact that we are facing. So the lack of transformation in terms of, land reform, we are seeing the impact at the market, which is where money, is made. So as we speak, the industry is highly consolidated, with white players dominating the market in terms of control, of the entire, supply chain. And that makes it very difficult, if not impossible, for black market agents to access and sell, products, locally, especially, in terms of using this particular, channel. The fact is that to date, no single black market agent in all 16 national fresh produce markets in the country has consistent access to top 4 selling commodities. The top 4 selling commodities in the country, things that South Africans consume, daily, without fail, it's onion, it's potato, it's tomato and bananas. These 4 commodities account for close to 60% of the 22.6 billion. You do not have large-scale commercial farmers of those 4 commodities in the country. Some 30 years into our democracy. Turnover-wise, those 4 basically account for 12.9 billion. So you're talking of 12.9 billion worth of produce where black people in the country do not have a role to play except as consumers. It's a worrying concern. So that's failure to produce, these top 4 commodities, at least, by the small-scale farmers or even, they call them emerging farmers, I think in some instances, means that, us as black market agents, we do not have access, to these commodities. Indeed, it is said that, you come to Joburg market, which, by the way, is the biggest market in the world, in case you don't know. It is the biggest market in the world for horticultural produce. You can go to, Google and check the stats for Rungis International. Rungis is the biggest market, at least in the world. It's based in Paris. But it's a food market, whereas ours here is a horticultural market. If you compare volume that they sell there in terms of, horticulture, at least when I used to work for Joburg market, we were far ahead in terms of volume, which makes, Joburg, the single biggest, point for sale of, fresh produce. But the point I'm trying to say is that we do not, have a role, as black people, in that particular, sector in terms of, what is, distributed, there. So this is what basically led to the formation of the council, for black market agents. We formed the organization to advocate for the advancement and development of black market agents, in the industry. The main aim is to ensure that there's inclusion, that there's growth, that there's competitiveness, and that there's equitable participation by black people, in the sector. Our vision is to see economically and socially inclusive national fresh produce markets, contributing equitably to the success, of the industry. We want to, promote or see the promotion of inclusion of black players, in the industry, to ensure that they are adequately capacitated in all forms and are enabled to compete freely in the sector. It is not the case now. When we formed CBMA back in 2016, we had about 8 members. We're talking 100% black-owned market agents. 7 years later, 5 have fallen by the wayside. There's only 3 market agents, left. It's 2 at Joburg and 1, at Tshwane. And the key reason is that, they did not have access to products. Remember, what you need here is not just access or sporadic access to product. You need consistent availability of, products. If you are selling tomatoes, you need to have tomatoes throughout the year, 365, days, of the year. No single black farmer now is able to guarantee that. One, because of, the scale of production, issue of access to capital, lack of transport logistics, all those things, they impact, overall in the operation. Our view is that, what we have here, ladies and gentlemen, is the best model that any country can ever have, And I always like to make this example that we've never had food riot in South Africa. We've never had food insecurity. But a lot of people fail to understand, how did this thing happen? How is it that, countries like India, every now and then there'll be food riot? It's because they don't have this channel. We've got a very unique channel here that we call National Fresh Produce Markets. been in existence for over 50 years. It provides for, platform for equitable sale of, fruits and vegetables. It has not seen price increase for over 50 years. Because as a farmer, you only part with 12.5%, at least, at most, and the rest of the money, accrues to the farmer. The money is paid, at almost without fail, within 5 days. You compare this, with other new channels that are cropping up, your direct sales with retailers where, there are stories of farmers being paid, after 90 days. It is not the case with markets. When a farmer sends produce to the market, it gets sold. The farmer can be assured that it was sold for cash. And the farmer can receive his money that very same day, but, normally, they'll be paid, within a week. So cash flow, is not that much affected. The farmer knows that, the product was sold probably at the best possible price because it's a free market where the forces of supply and demand, get to determine, the price, for fresh produce. So it's basically, the only channel where a grower is key in that, for every 100 rand that, his product fetches on the floor, he's guaranteed that 88% of that, money, we can even equate it to 88 rand, basically comes to his pocket. You can never say the same with the rest of the other channels, in the country. So the point I was trying to make in comparison to your rank is that, we need to do a lot to protect, this particular channel. It's what we have. I think, the best that we can ever export as a country. Other countries don't have it. Myself, by the way, I'm a former employee of the Joburg market. I served Joburg market from 2006 up to about 2013 as the head of marketing. So I was responsible for analyzing the statistics, reading the trends and all that. I've received delegations from, many countries across the world. And they are all at all in terms of what we have, as a country. And the point I'm trying to make in terms of food security is that, my mother could afford to buy tomatoes, I think, when I was young. My children, I think they'll continue to be able to buy tomatoes, because of these, markets that we have, 16 of them spread across the country, where any farmer, regardless of scale of production, they can take their products there to be sold, on their behalf, so that the farmer can focus on what they are good at, which is farming, and they allow somebody who's good at selling, which is, in terms of market agent, that's what they do, they're selling products on behalf of the farmer. It frees the farmer to focus on farming, have somebody sell products on their behalf, but know that at least it's sold at the best, optimum, price. As consumers or as buyers, you can go and buy at the market. You're able to negotiate the price, and therefore make sure that the price you pay, is actually representative, of factors of supply and demand. You can never say the same with the meat industry or any other sector in the country. Where price of meat is determined, by the meat abattoirs or the big players. There's no transparency. The price that, for instance, your ShopRite checkers will pay at a meat abattoir, it's not transparent. We don't know. But if you go to the market, there's a bit of transparency. And we need to jealously, in my view, guard, this channel. But in trying to, guard it, to preserve it, we need to make sure that we also transform it so that it can be, something that benefits almost every citizen of the country. Currently, it is very much skewed in favor of the current players. So we hope to assist the Commission in identifying real challenges that are hindering transformation in the sector. And also develop what we believe are lasting solutions that will ensure full transformation of the sector, so it reflects the country's demographics. Our view is that you cannot look at the issue of land transformation, in isolation to what is happening at the market. At the market is where big commercial farmers are making money, and for as long as they are making money there, they're not going to be able to see it and allow transformation to happen, in terms of production because of. The benefits, as you can see, 22.2 million, it's a lot of money. And the last point that I want to make is if you look at not just the top four, but within the top four, let's zoom into the top two commodities, which is potato and onion. the two commodities account for over 30% of that 22.6 billion. We've got market agents. At Joburg Market, if you've been, they've got 3 separate halls. You've got a potato and onion hall, 16,000 square meter. It's just a hall that basically sells nothing but, potatoes and onion. Those are the 2 top-selling commodities, in the country. That's what we consume as South Africans on a regular basis. Then you've got the fruit hall, and then you've got the vegetable hall. When you become accredited as a market agent, you are given space in all the 3 halls. We've got a space in the potato and onion hall that we don't use. We can never use it because we don't have access to products. 2, you go to fruits hall, it's very sporadic because fruits are very, they are seasonal, products. So we only have an operation at the, vegetable hall. But when you get given space by the market authorities, they basically, will set a target for you that, your target is to achieve, this much turnover, otherwise it doesn't justify us, allocating space for you. But already you are on the back foot because of, 30% of what contributes the target or the turnover. You don't have access to that product because there's no black farmers in the country that consistently produce those 2 commodities. So the chips that we consume from McDonald's, McCain's and all that, a lot of black people, we have no hand in that except as consumers. For me, it's a source for concern, and I just hope that, in trying to deliberate on the issues here, we can zoom into those and say, how can we address, these issues? Because sure, 30 years, it's a very, very long time. We still have tax of black farmers referred to as emerging farmers. You can never be emerging for 30 years. At some stage, you're supposed to be an emerged. They've been emerging, they still get referred to as emerging farmers. I'm 30 years into a democracy. Sure, there's something wrong. And for me, I hope that, with this investigation, we will zoom deeper into those issues and not only identify challenges, but seek to, come with, tangible, solutions that we can basically, put into place to address these challenges because it's affecting us. We are seeing it in terms of our performance at Joburg Market. I thank you.
Thank you very much. So let me just kick off then. You obviously spoken and maybe outlined the strategic importance of the NFPMs. But maybe talk us through some of the problems and the challenges that are being experienced at those particular markets currently.
I happen to have been a member of a body called Project Rebirth. Project Rebirth is a brainchild of the Department of Agriculture at National. And it was established, to basically zoom in and look at the challenges that are faced, at the market. Because sure, they are concerned about, the declining volumes that are being channeled to national fresh produce market. If you look at the trajectory in terms of, production, vis-a-vis, what basically goes to the market. Yes, markets continue to record, phenomenal growth, but we call it, inflationary growth because of, the growth. If you look at the volume, it does not correspond, with the, the turnover. I'll give you an example. Joburg Market, they trade over 800 million worth of produce, a month. But if you look at the volume, for the past 10 years, it's dropping, owing to, emerging other channels that are basically, cropping up. And some of the issues cited by the big buyers, for instance, is dilapidating infrastructure at the market. The reality is that, these channels were built almost 40 years ago. And then they were entrusted in the care of local municipalities. You and I know that there's chaos currently in local municipalities. They cannot collect their money for utilities that they've rendered, let alone managing a complex business such as a national fresh produce market, where you need constant investment to make sure that there's you maintain good hygiene standards, you maintain the infrastructure, and the likes. So as a result, they've lost a lot of big what I'll call, account, buyers. Those in the main are the retailers, but at the same time, because nature doesn't allow vacuum, what we've seen over the years, at least according to statistics, by Freshmark system, is that, of that 22.6 billion, about 40% of that turnover comes from the informal traders. These are the, what we call, street hawkers, they are a cog, in terms of making, sure that, people have access to these fresh commodities, at least closer to their household. So those are the guys that basically, come in to fill the void. But then the big buyers, obviously, they have, since, migrated to source, directly. And you've got farmers that have also invested a lot of money in making sure that, they improve their standards, their pack houses and all that are created. And they are saying, but I cannot be spending so much money here in terms of making sure that, I maintain the standards to take it to a product where it basically, will be contaminated, because of, lack of, proper care owing to, old infrastructure and the other issues. So those are in the main, the challenges. So what we are seeing now is a situation whereby, other small regional markets, they are dropping phenomenally in terms of turnover, and then Joburg market continue to grow as people from those areas bypass them. I mean, you have people coming from as far as Lesotho bypassing Mangaung market, which is in Bloemfontein, coming all the way to Joburg, to buy. Obviously, that is affecting performance of those regional markets. And of course, you can argue that it's the issue of products available, but farmers now also opt to take their products to where these big markets are because of quicker turnaround of stock, but also the prices and all that. So you've got all those myriad challenges, but also the chaos that we see in the local municipalities, where you don't have consistency in terms of management. This week is this coalition, and it affects the leadership in those markets. So as a result, we are seeing the channel's influence declining, relative to the role that it used to play, in the past. So those in the main are the challenges, other than the issues of transformation that already highlighted.
Thank you. So who are the major role players at the market agent level of the value chain in South Africa? So maybe just provide us with some names. Who are the big players at this level?
The big players, I mean, in Joburg you'll have RSA, you'll have your Bofa and Ruot, you have DEPA, you've got Venpro. But if you look at those agents that I've just mentioned, what makes them big? It's not a rocket science. I mean, you've got RSA, I'm glad Jako is here. They are the biggest traders of tomatoes in South Africa and in the country. And that's what makes them big. You've got Venpro, they are the biggest in terms of potatoes and onion. You go to DEPA, they are big in citrus. So you can see everything mirrors what I just said, that once you have access to the four big commodities, it's almost a foregone conclusion that you are bound to be a bigger player. So therefore, access to those commodities is basically what will determine whether you grow to become bigger or not, because pretty much it's what we consume. South African households, in every household has got a tomato at any given time. You've got a potato at any given time. You've got an onion. So in most cases, whatever that we consume throughout the country and across SADC, you can be rest assured that it went through the hands of those four big players, because the markets in SA, they're not only supply produce, or they are not only a platform to serve the needs of the locals. Indeed, you've got trucks coming from as far as the DRC, in the Congo, coming to source their products here. The entire Botswana depend on SA, for their fresh produce provision. So is Lesotho and Swaziland. So, and because of we are almost like the same, as black people in terms of what we consume. And as I mentioned black people because we happen to be the majority of consumers. So what people consume in Swaziland is the same as, what you consume, locally. So you are going to see for the foreseeable amount of time, those 4 agencies remaining, the biggest, owing to their access, to those, key commodities that I've just mentioned.
Sure. So you mentioned access to products or commodities is a major thing. So you also mentioned the names of like Venpro, for instance, and their presence in onions and potatoes. Do you know of any exclusivity arrangements with those particular agents and the growers focusing on those commodities?
I wouldn't know. Safe to say that part of the recommendation that I made when I was serving in the Project Rebirth, I was made in charge of a subcommittee that basically looks at transformation, and part of the responsibility was to develop or to do a study in terms of what are the challenges and what solutions can we propose to address those challenges. And one of the things that as a committee we recommended was that perhaps we should look at approaching these big producers, basically, to propose to them that, can they, look, for instance, at introducing, it can be a sub-brand. You know that you are a producer, you are a big, you've got a brand that you've established. Establish a sub-brand, which sub-brand you can use to basically supply black market agents, as a way to help transform, the sector. But our pleas obviously fell on deaf ears. So just so that you understand, the relationship between, market agents and farmers, it's very, strong and solid. In fact, most relationships are more solid than most relationships, marriage that we see, in the country. You have a situation where you get told by a farmer that, look here, we are the 5th generation, in this family. And for as long as we've traded, we've always been trading through that market agents. We have no reason to want to, break, the trust, and therefore, sorry, we can't. And of course, we are told that we are in a free market economy. People are free to do what they want with their product. And indeed, it's understandable, given that the product, much as it's sold at the market, it remains the property of the farmer until it is sold. So therefore, if the product is not sold, it is the farmer that assumes the risk. And the farmer will always say that, based on that, I'm not willing to take a chance. So yes, we did try, and the result was that the only solution is that, we need to go out and create our own ecosystem, develop, our own, black farmers, and train them and equip them and make sure that they are able to supply.
So you mentioned that you went out to the other growers. I mean, did you not approach governments, the Department of Agriculture, or, because clearly the problem seems to be at that grower level. I mean, who else have you approached in terms of getting that grower level, or at least some access to those produce, to those commodities at the grower level?
Now, interestingly, the Project Rebirth that I'm referring to, it was chaired by government. I mean, we're talking of people from the Department of Agriculture, people responsible for marketing, they were present. So they are aware of those issues. But even with their presence, we still were not able to break the barrier.
Okay. All right, moving on then. Are you at least aware of any cross-shareholdings or cross-directorships between competing market agents at the Joburg NFPMs or elsewhere for that matter?
Well, you hear that, but then of course we don't have evidence, and then we just felt that for us it's not worth pursuing or investigating because of we don't see how it's going to benefit us. Our concern is mainly on focusing on programs that will basically deliver results for us. So rather than following on those issues, we believe that perhaps the time could be better spent trying to grow and develop our own suppliers so that we can, have access to products.
All right. How do your members determine the prices of the commodities that they handle? Maybe if you can just go into some detail. I know you've got Gilbert next to you as well.
It's a tricky one because I know that there was investigation by the Commission, but safe to say that when I joined Joburg Market in 2006 as the head of marketing, the prevailing view is that the farmer can only part with up to 12.5%.
So maybe just to stop you, because we'll get into the commissions later.
Yeah.
But I'm talking now specifically about the sort of prices of the produce itself. So the prices from the buyer side. Maybe just talk us through that process, please. We understand that there's a supply-demand sort of
that's
principle.
Fine. So what happens is that, daily, and I'll use Joburg Market as an example because of, at least I can draw on my experience there. Daily, where sales will close at 11, there'll be reconciliation of accounts so that, monies can be paid to the market agents for sales, that are accrued on that day, minus the 5% that the authorities will take. And the Joburg Market will then post, statistics for that day on the website in terms of, how much was sold, the stock availability on the floor, the volume, the average, the low and the high. And I would imagine that basically becomes, the basis, for price, discovery the following, day. And of course, when you factor in, the deliveries that will have happened, from 12, midday up to, early hours of the morning, those are the factors that basically, will determine, the price when the market opens the following day.
Thank you. So maybe moving on to what you wanted to answer just now in terms of price competition. So the FPMI has observed very little price competition in terms of the commissions being charged by market agents to the growers. In your view, why is there such a little price competition at that level? You mentioned the 12.5%, which obviously 5% goes to the market itself, but it seems almost pegged at the 7.5% for the agents. Is there some wriggle room there? I mean, maybe just talk us through that pricing at that level at least.
Certainly, there is a wriggle room. I mean, an example is in the sales of potatoes. I'm told they don't pay 7.5%. I'm told, I don't know that. I'm told that, and remember, we're not selling potatoes because we don't have access to the commodities. I'm told that the commission is slightly lower. I don't know if it's because of Potato SA want to negotiate as a collective on behalf of their members. I really, will not comment on that because I don't have the facts. But I know for sure that market agents are flexible in terms of the commission that they can charge, the farmer for their services. And that is a factor of negotiation between that particular farmer and the market agents, at that point. And of course, there will be other, conditions. But the prevailing view is that, market agents takes, up to 7.5. But of late, I've heard, that there are farmers that get charged up to 8, 9, 10%. And I cannot comment on that because it does not involve any of our members. But it's things that you just hear on the corridors and the likes. Thanks.
Okay. So in your view, I mean, what can be done to increase price competition at that level?
It's a difficult one. I guess for as long as you don't increase the pool of suppliers, and you've got this limited, or controlled by the industry, by a few who are highly syndicated, I don't think you have much room, to wriggle yourself, out of it. For me, the problem with regard to markets, start in the main, in the production, of these products. And for as long as what is produced, in the country's hinterland doesn't come to the market, you're going to have the same players that have dominated continue to dominate, and pretty much they set, the rules. And if there's nothing to upset the apple cart by way of having a deluge of new players now coming into the scene, they won't be willing, in my view, to cede control. And so you're not going to do much until you address the issue, of production.
Okay, maybe then just in terms of the levels of concentration at the market agent level as well. Once again, we've observed high levels of concentration specifically at that level. Once again, what are the barriers to entry for new market agents wishing to enter the market?
So there's quite a few. So there's quite a few. I mean, one, you need to apply at APEC and then receive training. I think there are some monies that needs to be paid at APEC. Yeah. So then you receive training. Once you've received the training and you become accredited, then you can then approach the market authorities at the market of your choice, for to be given a concession or space, to trade. And that's the beginning of your problems, because of you need to have an office, with staff that will do, the bank end or provide bank end, support or admin. You need to have a team of salespeople who will go out there and recruit farmers to basically supply you with the products. You need to do self, maintenance of your stall in terms of cleaning, right? So those are the costs that you have to incur. Pay for the furniture, the computer systems, and the likes. So those are the big barriers, and we mentioned them in our submission. In that you look at the history of the country, almost every sector has received support one way or the other from government. A lot of money continue to be pumped, into, primary production. We haven't had a, single initiative by government whereby they are saying, no, look, let's go and try to support this layer of middlemen that are called market agents, at the market, in terms of meeting them halfway, understanding their challenges and beginning to basically, maybe, cover some of their expenses. It hasn't happened. When you're sitting here to say that he's the MD of Katu Fresh Market Agents, you can be rest assured that, whatever little expense that he has incurred, it basically came from his pocket. He has paid it from his pocket to be where he is, which is the reason why a lot of them, have folded. But you and I know that all the big industries we have in the country, you can mention them from Sosol, ISCO, and all. They were started with government money. Some state government was involved to make them to be where they are. It is not the case, with us as black market agents. Every little expense came from our pocket. You're almost out of pocket to the tune of almost $500,000 before you even start trading. But even that is not guaranteed, because it's still, a function of farmers being able to, support you or supply you with products. And then you realize very soon that, they're in potato and onion, 30% of that money, it's gone. You're basically discounting it. You come, to even with the fruit hall, you can count the number of farmers that have citrus, farms, because there it's citrus, it's bananas. We don't have access, to those. Never mind, apples. They all come from Western Cape. As a black market agent, forget about, convincing, farmers from the Western Cape to basically supply you with apples. So you literally don't have a presence in two halls, which is the potato and onion and the fruit. And then in the veggies, you are relegated to, selling your cabbage, your spinach, and maybe, sporadic supply of tomatoes here and there. But the quality is not consistent, the volumes are very, minute. So it's very, 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 very difficult. So those are the factors.
Sure, but I mean, if you're looking at it, you've really got a small licensing fee and the training that you've got to conduct or at least undergo. and maybe some sort of, office expenses and those type of things. But you mentioned R500,000. What else do you need from government in terms of, training, or what is lacking there that you guys, because it seems like there's a very, very lucrative market on the other side, and you would expect there to be a lot of entry into this market unless you are seeing structural barriers or significant sort of capital expenditure that is maybe deterring entry into that market.
Thank you. Look, it's a number of things. I mean, I'll give you an example. Not many people know about this channel, how it works. At least that is from my experience. We haven't had a concerted effort as a country to go on a drive and market the fresh produce as a channel to a lot of farmers. Indeed, one of the sad, occurrences that you'll have a farmer who basically takes pension and he's got about 20 hectares. They produce and then they harvest the product, good quality stuff, and then they will send the truck to the market. And then the driver will arrive at the gate and say, I'm here to deliver the product. And they say, to which agency? The driver says, I don't know. My boss just said I must load the truck and bring it to the market. So in that instance, that particular farmer will be at the mercy of the staff at the market, will say, okay, I will divert this consignment to that agent. So it's like a roll of the dice. The product arrives at that particular market agents will be the lucky recipient of stock that you're not expecting. It's good quality stuff, they sell. Once they sell the product, the market will take its 5% and the agent will take his 7.5 or up to 7.5, and then the money gets stuck in the agent's trust account because they don't have the farmer's detail, right? And then the law says that in terms of APEC, all funds that are not, paid to the, producer, they get appropriated by APEC as the authority. And then you go on a drive as a black market agent. You visit, some farmers say, in Limpopo. You say, no, I'm Gilbert, market agent. Say, hey, don't tell me about the market. I sent my product there, not even a cent. You say, when? How? They said, no, please. I'm happy selling from the farm gate because, you guys, you are a scam. Why? Because of no effort was made to go out and educate at least, black farmers that, once you produce, you got this channel. It's owned by government, basically, and by law, it's, bound to, receive or accept products from any farm and sell on your behalf. It's the cheapest channel you can ever use. Nobody has ever done that. To explain to them the process, you need to establish a relationship with a market agent, know them, sign an agreement with them, agree on the commission that the agent will charge you, agree on payment terms. Don't just load a truck and send them. Unfortunately, we've got hundreds of farmers that basically, have bent their fingers. As a result, they have no interest, none whatsoever, in wanting to ever, use the channel because of, the experience, was bad. And who's to blame for that? I would say the entire industry. One, government in terms of, awareness. Unfortunately, I've learned that, we used to have what we call extension officers. At least they were the people that were responsible for advising the farmers in terms of production, but then I'm told that, the number of extension officers over the years, have been, reduced. But it's when you interact with some of these extension officers, they are basically qualified agronomists. They know nothing about the market. They basically provide advisory service in terms of how to produce, when to produce, the best quality. But in terms of what to do with the products, once the product is ready, they don't know. So there is that gap. We've got a body called the SA Union of Food Market. I was one of the co-founders of this particular body. It's basically a body that represents CEOs of all national fresh produce markets in the country. That body, in my view, has failed to go out and market, national fresh produce market as a channel, at least, to the stakeholders in the main, to the farmers, that, you've got this channel, this is how it operates, and then if, by the way, you have a grievance, there's APEC. You can basically take up your issue with the market authorities. If you don't get satisfaction, you raise the issue with APEC. And if it's got to do, with the market agent, having, done you wrong, they've got a trust account, will dip into the trust account and basically, pay you whatever, whatever that you feel that, is due to you, and then you will dock that particular agent. They are not aware. It's information that is known only by a few. So until we address, those, you will continue having, problems. Two is that we haven't seen, development of at least new markets in the past, 40 years. As I've said, the bulk of these 16 markets were built almost 40 years ago. Population has since grown. I think we've added extra 20 million people. You go to a place like, Limpopo. Until recently, it did not have a market. I know that there's a market now in Muketsi, that was established, and it's doing, roaring trade. You got the entire province that does not have a market, and yet people there consume, these things. And if anything, you've got other places that used to have markets, falling off. So there's no, consistency until you basically, address that. I mean, we are seeing more developments in every township. It's because of, population has grown, people need these things, and they continue to make money. But you're talking of food, you're not seeing, as much concerted effort to basically, roll out, more fresh produce market channels to basically, make food accessible, to the consumers, but also provide, an alternative channel for, the farmers to basically go sell their products. So the challenge now is that, the bulk of what is sold here in Gauteng, which is a consumption hub, by the way, comes from, some 500, 600 kilometers, away. So it basically means that, you'll always have a challenge. Like, for instance, he'll tell you there are instances where a farmer will go and produce 20,000, heads of cabbage. He's in Vembe, Limpopo. And we say to him, Chief, you're going to make a loss. Because to load cabbage, even on a truck, depending on the price, they are too bulky. So those type of crops, in our view, they are more suited to somebody who's much closer to where consumption, because they don't have to spend a lot of money on transport. There you can only load so much, but then ultimately when it arrives at the market, market force of supply and demand determine the price, and you may work at a loss. That's if you the farmer was based, some 70 kilometers from Joburg, they'll be able to make profit. But then because they didn't get that advice, at the beginning, they lose money, and therefore they lose interest. By the time you approach them to say that, have you thought of using this channel? They say, hey, don't tell me about the channel.
Doesn't that present an opportunity for market agents to go out and develop these relationships and build that trust? Because what you're just saying now, I mean, that's really what it's all based on. And I mean, it creates awareness for the markets and awareness for the business that you guys, or the services that you offer. I mean, what is happening there? Why is that not happening?
We are doing it, but the reality is that you have to look at the scale at which also they are producing. It's very small. Collectively, yes, they produce a lot, but then they are doing 2 hectares here. That one is doing 1 hectare, and all that. And then you've got the transport, factor. Limpopo is far, which is where the bulk of what is sold in these markets, come from. So it creates those challenges. Yes, it's an opportunity, much it's a challenge, but also bearing in mind that, we are already not making money because of, we don't have this product. So when you go out there to recruit these farmers, it's extra cost that you are incurring, as a market agent and a black market agent, So this way we're saying if we could have support from government, it will go a long way, to help us, address, those issues. So it's a multiple, things. You cannot do it just as market agent without the support of government, at least at, provincial or even, at local, level.
Thank you. I think let's move on to floor space allocation. You did mention that there was some space that is currently unused. But maybe just explain to us, how important floor allocation space is to market agents, and whether and the impacts of the floor space allocation, or how that impacts market agents to compete.
Thanks. Floor space is a currency at the market. I mean, you can get floor space at a debt, location within the market, otherwise you're not going to make as much money, because the idea is to have a floor space where, there's lots of traffic, in terms of movement. Two is in terms of size, whereas the bigger the size, the more, produce you are able to, have on the floor and be able to display. Because this industry thrives on one key factor. We call it the heap factor. The bigger the heap, the perception is that here it's like somebody selling apples on the side of the road on plastic plates. Chances are that you'll just probably maybe attract the passers-by. But if you put 2 pallets of apples, motorists stop because they say, hey, that guy's got back. Chances are that I'll get a better discount, the quality and all that. So people tend to associate those things to what you call the heap factor. So you can afford to have a bigger heap factor if you've got a floor space. Unfortunately, in our case, we're not even able to capitalize on that because we don't have the heap from the farmer. The heap is a factor of farmers being able to supply you, with the product. So yeah, it basically got to do, with the space at which you're allocated. Is it an area that has got higher volume, of passers-by? 2 is the size. So unfortunately, the market have got a rule, because they are running a business, to say that you use it or you lose it. We cannot have space allocated for you and you don't use it. We might as well allocate it to another market, because the space currency, given that not much has been done to develop or to expand the floor space. And you've got these areas that are growing bigger, and then they're looking for more space. But then the markets are saying, look, we have an imperative to ensure that there's transformation. So you've got those competing, factors, and they end up saying that, no, look, but you've allocated this space, you're not using, you might as well give it to this guy. When you are ready, you want it, I'm sure you can get it, back. But
so what are your views on the floor allocation formulas being applied? Are they working currently? Is there space for new entrants? Space reserved for new entrants? How do you get more space?
There's a lot of space in markets that are not performing well. You can almost go there, walk in anytime, and then you'll get a floor. I'll give you an example. We've got Umtata Market, built to the tune of 36 million. It's closed today. There's no market in Umtata because there's no market agents, able to operate there, owing to the distance and the transport logistics and all that. And it affecting food security now in Umtata as we speak, because people there are now forced to rely on your retailers to buy fresh produce. If you go to Umtata, the level of informal trading activity is almost non-existent. In Joburg, it's unheard. Wherever you go, people that have lost their jobs, at least during COVID, it becomes like a default position. I've got 1,000 rand. I'll go to Joburg market. I'll grab potatoes, onion, and tomatoes. I'll stand by the side of the road. By close of business, you made 1,000, and it becomes your, your alternative, form of, income. People in other areas don't have those opportunities, because the market, is closed. So. But you come to places like Joburg and so on, it's a currency, because almost every agency wants to, get a space there. Why? Because of Gauteng is the foremost consumption hub for fresh produce, in the country. So the demand is here in Joburg and Tshwane the most. If you go to other markets on the outskirts, yeah.
But on those 2 particular markets, Tshwane and Joburg, I mean, is there issues around allocation, floor space allocation?
Oh, there is. A Joburg, I know there is. Big, issue on floor space, allocation. Every now and then, if they have to introduce a new black market agent or a market agent, it means that somebody must lose their space. Isn't it that somebody once said, no, but let me not say that. But the point I'm trying to make is that not much has gone into, building or extending the current, capacity, that the markets, have. So, and every year there's a need to basically, maybe transform or rejig the floor, but you only got so much limited space. And if I'm a market agent and I'm performing well, you'll have difficulty basically also making a decision as to why you have to reduce my space in favor of somebody that is not proven, that is failing you. Because at the end of the day, you know, as the market also, you want to run a profitable organization. So I think they are caught between a rock and a hard surface in terms of there's an imperative for transformation in terms of introducing new agencies, but equally so, you know, how do you do it in a way that, you know, you don't penalize the existing, you know, players, because they need, you know, extra space. In fact, they are delivering already, and the reason why you are able to meet your target, you know, turnover targets because of the very same guys. So it's a challenge. It's a challenge.
But you wouldn't say it's a hindrance to new entry for specifically HDI agents now? There does seem to be floor space allocated for new entrants. Okay.
I don't think it's a hindrance as such.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I think you mentioned a little bit earlier that white farmers and agents are still operating across racial lines. And there is a pack in front of you, and maybe I can refer you quickly to page, it's paginated page 107. It's paragraph 1.4, and there's the second bullet point. Yeah.
107?
Yeah, the second bullet point under paragraph 1.5.
Yes.
So you said that black market agents are struggling to break racial patterns in the industry where elite commercial farmers continue their long historical relationship with established white agents and are unwilling to supply black market agents with produce. So maybe explain to us how this is happening, and if you can, maybe provide examples of instances where your members have been approached, you know, or where your members approached any farmer or producer with a proposal to sell produce on their behalf, and they were refused. Because that's essentially what you're saying there.
It's a fact. I mean, I'm going to make mention of this. Because, as I've indicated, I was the chairperson of the subcommittee on transformation within the Project Rebirth, you know, program that the Department of Agriculture had initiated, you know, at the time. And one of the things we'll do is to hold, you know, roving meetings across the country. And one of the meetings that we did was with ZZ2 in their offices in Mukezi. And we presented, you know, our findings to them as a subcommittee and highlighted the challenges. And I made a proposal to say that, you know, one of the things that we're looking at is to have, you know, these big commercial farmers at least introduce a sub-brand. We understand that it will create a challenge, for instance, if in this instance ZZ2 is selling their tomatoes through RSA, and there's a long-established relationship, and RSA is delivering for ZZ2. And for suddenly RSA to see their ZZ2 tomatoes sold at a Katu Fresh, then you go like, but what have I done wrong now that you are diverting these products? Because then I thought I've got exclusivity in terms of the arrangement that we have, that, you know, you only sell through this agency. So we are saying to the extent that, you know, that particular, you know, proposition will create challenges, then create a sub-brand. Divert 2% of what your production to these black market agents. Let's create a brand that we call Namibia. But for all we know, good intents and purposes, that, you know, it's a product, you know, that comes from a commercial farmer. It's good quality product. Yes, it will compete with your established brand, but ultimately the money goes to one kitty. But at least it will have helped to address the issue of access, you know, to products for market agents, you know, at National Fresh Produce Market. Unfortunately, they were never given a chance to respond, because one of our BE members quickly came to the defense, and then they never got to respond to that particular, you know, proposition. So we never pursued it as well, you know. But safe to say that, you know, such initiative is not been received with enthusiasm, at least from what we have observed. But yes, we have tried, but then it remains a challenge.
I mean, it's a sort of a free market system. I mean, is there anything preventing you as a new market entrant to say, going to a ZZ2, for instance, and saying, look, this is my value proposition. I'm prepared to offer you a discount to whatever everyone else is offering. These are my sort of non-price, value adds, and somebody has turned around and said, no, well, we're not going to deal with you. We refuse to deal with you. In line with what you've said along, the sort of racial lines. I mean, has that ever happened? Because what you're saying now is a little bit different.
No. I don't know if you've done that. So. Yeah, he just basically shared with me a scenario where one of the business that they've managed to source is from a project called, is the food bank, the feeding scheme. It required that they supply bananas and oranges. So they approached one of the big, producers to say that, we've got these orders. Can you, or we actually secured this business? Are you able to supply us with these commodities? And by the way, we're not saying do us a favor. You're not saying you want to pay less. You're saying that we'll basically sell the product almost on par with. And the guy said no. Go to this market agent so and so at the market, and then that's where you'll get my product. I'm not interested. So at least in this instance, he's able to share with you those details of who the farmer was, if should that information be required. So yes. But over time you realize that you cannot be backing the same tree because you are getting the same results. So you might as well maybe go and focus your efforts elsewhere, which is just to try and develop your own database of farmers and grow with them. It's not easy, it's difficult, and it's tedious, but yeah, that's the only solution or alternative for now.
Thank you. So I think you did touch on a little bit earlier the challenges that are faced by small-scale growers in selling their produce on the NFPMs. In your view, what advice can be given to small-scale farmers or growers in selling their produce on the NFPMs, given your experience at that level?
What is there? Sorry, there.
Sorry, so I'm asking, what advice do you have for small-scale growers? Like you mentioned earlier about the cabbages, in getting their produce on the NFPMs and getting a good price.
My advice will be that before they sink their money onto the ground, obviously they need to, seek advice in terms of what products, to focus, on. Unfortunately, in the industry, you are seeing, a lot of speculators. Somebody just hear that, beans are fetching a higher price at the market, and you have the entire region now, group of farmers sinking their money into growing beans. They all harvest at the same time, and the word spread to other provinces and other areas. You've got a whole lot of farmers that are doing beans, for that particular 3 or 6 months. They harvest, they all take products to the market. The market gets flooded with the products, and then the price drops, and they all burn their fingers. Two is the issue of consistency. You see, it's key. In this industry, price will always go up, price can go down, price can remain constant. So it's like in a stock exchange, market. But farmers that make money ultimately are those that are consistently, constantly have a presence on the floor. When the price is up, they are benefiting from the upswing. When the price is low, they are taking a knock. But also what that does is that it creates, some form of loyalty, at least, from a buyer's point of view. I come today, I buy Namibia, bananas. I take them to my store, my clients like them. The following day, I'm not going to bother going to check, for other brands, right? I go for that particular brand. I'll negotiate for a better price. Even better if the market agent, has consistent, supply or availability of that product, because it helps me at the end, that when my clients come, they want to buy the same. So if I come to you today, I buy and it's not there, the following day it's there, I'll tend to go to a market agent that has got, consistent supply of that. So our farmers are struggling. One, in terms of, the scale of production, it's a key fact. Two, others have learned, but then they don't have, water rights, or at least enough to basically, increase their scale of, production. Three, you've got the issue of, pack house. It's key, because you're able to do the grading, the sorting, at the farm. Marketing also play a very crucial role. I mean, I've seen, black farmers that are able to do, best tomatoes, but owing to lack of capital or other factors, they pack them in a crate, they bring them to the market. The product is quality, but it's not graded. So therefore, the product doesn't fetch as good price as it would, a product that is graded, that is packed, in a proper, box and all that. So, but all those things are upfront investment that as a farmer you have to make. You have to pay for your production cost, that includes labor. And then you have to do the sorting, grading, the marketing, the packaging, and all those things, and take this product to the market. Transport logistics, is key. So a lot of them rely on third-party transport logistics. I mean, you have instances where you harvest the product and it's ready, and the transporter is supposed to come. You make an appointment with the transporter to come and collect, and he doesn't pitch up. He doesn't pitch up. It's Monday. He only pitches up the following day at 4. The product has been sitting there for over 24 hours. It arrives at the market, it's Wednesday. The product was harvested Sunday. So clearly it's almost towards the end of its shelf life. And the market is a very unforgiving environment, because you've got buyers. What buyers want is a good quality product. They don't want stories that, does it come from a black farmer, does it come from a white farmer? They don't care. All they want is potatoes, onions, and then they basically match their needs, and that's it. So, but you've got a lot of behind the scenes that are affecting these guys, because they don't have these resources. They don't have a pack house. They don't own the transport. They rely on a third party, and the price can be ridiculous. But also their scale of production doesn't allow for them to make sure that there's consistency of stock availability at the market, and those are the things that works against them. What will be the solution? It could be a system where the market or the province or the municipality goes to create a produce collation point where they build a pack house that can be co-shared by farmers in the community, that there's transport logistics that is dedicated to basically serving those farmers, that you have your extension officers being involved on the day-to-day operation of those farms, and unless you address those issues there at the farm, you'll always have a problem, because then it's everyone for themselves.
So maybe just to pick up on one of the points you made about sort of trends and like you say, speculating. But isn't that maybe an opportunity for the market agents? Because you've got relationships with the buyers, you've also got visibility in terms of market trends and pricing and so on and so forth. Is there not an opportunity to, beginning of the season, go and speak to your growers and say, look, this is, and have that sort of planning, throughout the year, so that you don't have these sort of hits and misses? Because everybody benefits ultimately in that. And isn't that also part of the relationship and the trust that is formed between the market agent and the grower?
Sure, it is. And then where an opportunity arises, we do give, such, advice or share, the relevant information. But you're not always on the ground, and they receive a whole lot of other information, you could agree with a farmer that let's trial this thing, let's do so many hectares of this land focusing on this particular crop, and then you leave, and along comes somebody says, no, look, I'm from Pepperdew, we want to contract you to do so much. Peppers for us will give you 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the farmer changes his mind.
Yeah.
So, and then they bend their fingers, then they want to come to you. So it's one of those. You can only do so much, you know, because ultimately you can't blame them. It's their money, you know. They've got the right to decide how they basically, you know, use it. Also, it's their land, but also to the extent that, you know, they assume 100% of the risk, you know, you can't basically force them, you know, to do, you know, certain things. But there are those that learn, you know, that instead of just trying to be a jack of all trade, let me just focus on just one commodity, you know, and master it. And then it will be my bread and butter. But then you have farmers that basically want to do cabbage, they want to do tomato, and then they want to do fruit farming, and so they're basically, you know, all over. And then that's what also, you know, creates, you know, challenges, you know, in terms of, you know, lack of focus. So it's a myriad of, you know, factors that we believe that, you know, as market agents were not able to address on our own, you know, without the support from different, you know, government structures.
Sorry, I just want to move on to another important point that you raised in your submission regarding PROCON and the sort of discrimination or unfair discrimination against black farmers when it comes to the grading of produce. Can you maybe just provide us with some explanation as to how that is done and once again some examples as well, please?
As we've indicated, for us, we take it as a hearsay. We don't take it as a fact. I think that's what we stated it as such in the submission, that seemingly there's discrimination in terms of how the product, you know, it's graded, to seemingly want to give it a lower grade, obviously, which will translate to a lower price. But we really do not have evidence, you know, as such. Owing to the fact that not a lot of black farmers are producing potato, which is what currently PROCON is on in terms of grading of products. I think the grading of other commodities, I'm not sure how far that one is, if it's been implemented, but in the main, their presence at the markets was in terms of grading of potatoes. So we just had it as a hearsay in one of the forums, and given that we don't have a lot of black farmers that are producing potatoes on a high scale, you know, we really never went to pursue it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But maybe if you can just touch in general terms on what the incentive for PROCON might be in this sort of unfair discriminatory practice against targeting these specific farmers.
Obviously, they will have to. You have to do a bit of education. You cannot just you know, punish people, you know, at the point where they're expecting to make sale. You know, I believe that there should be a drive, you know, to educate farmers, at least, you know, in their, you know, farms, to basically, you know, introduce yourself, your services, and what the farmer must do to ensure compliancy, to avoid, you know, protracted issues, you know, at the market when they expect to raise money or to basically realize a sale. And as I've indicated, you know, I mean, farming is it's a hard thing. You know, you've already incurred, you know, all this labor cost, production, and adverse weather, only to be told that, you know, your product is actually grade 3, not grade 1, that whenever you believe it to be. And you're not even there, remember, as a farmer, to argue your case. You're sitting at your farm, somebody grades this thing on the platform before it's made available for sale. So, sure, you know, it's bound to, you know, create, you know, challenges. So we believe that engagement, thorough engagement, you know, with the farmers, you know, at least in their production facility, you know, it will help. Perhaps even maybe have this grading, you know, happen at the farm, you know, because you're able to address the issues there. But to do it at the market, it's almost like you are doing it arbitrarily, because the farmer is not there to basically argue his case. And in fact, he does not even have time, because you are talking of perishable products here. These things, you cannot be arguing for more than 20 minutes. These things must sell, they must go. So it's not like arguing over a bottle of water that has got, a 60, or even 6 months shelf life. This thing must go. So I believe that perhaps your PROCON, system will work better if this grading was to happen at the farm, because the issues get addressed there. By the time the product arrives at the market, it's ready for sale. That way, the farmer is able to correct, their ways. But where grading happens at the market, it's bound to create, challenges. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think that's all from us. Thank you.
No, thank you, Mr. Bowles. I'll ask Ruan Mare if he's got any follow-up questions.
Thank you, Chair. And through you, Chair, I do have two follow-up questions and one new topic that I think is important to address. I think the first is just you've mentioned a couple of times about Project Rebirth. You've mentioned your role in that project. What you haven't mentioned is your experiences or your views on what went wrong with Project Rebirth. I mean, where is that project currently? And if it's failed or stagnated, what, in your view, are the reasons for that?
Thanks. The project stagnated, and COVID came, and and a lot of things just fell under the radar. One of the things that the Project Rebirth was looking at, to save, this channel, was to basically consider taking away, the ownership of the markets away from the local municipalities, establish a government body, which body basically, will take ownership of, the markets. However, consultation, I think, was done, with the legal fraternity. It requires changing of constitution, and so it's not easy to basically, just appropriate a structure that is owned by municipalities and want to basically, take it to level, to national level. Two is that you've got other markets like Joburg, you've got Tshwane, to an extent. They are doing very well. I mean, Joburg, I think, one of the biggest contributors to the revenue of the city of Johannesburg. I really don't see the city of Johannesburg agreeing to basically cede control and ownership of Joburg market, ever. If you're talking of an entity that basically turns over 36 million in 6 hours, and 5% of that, is what you are, getting as a local municipality, it's a lot of money. And it's working, and it continues to grow. So, owing to those issues, the project, I think, just sort of fell through. What I will request is that perhaps the Commission should consider roping in the department. I think they'll be better positioned to basically share their view, because a lot of extensive studies were done, a lot of consultations were done. And nothing came of it. And unfortunately, if we leave it as is, in few years' time, we run the risk of, having this, this channel, shrink even further. And my worry is that if you leave it to the private sector, you are going to have a problem, at the end. And I'll give you an example of what we noticed. I mean, we took a study tour of, the UK. They used to have almost similar arrangements in terms of markets in the past, but over time they allowed wholesalers, to basically creep in, and they've now become the biggest, players. So they've lost, that price, transparency, price formation, a platform. It's almost like in the meat industry. I like to give meat industry as an example, where there's no transparency. I slaughter, I value add, I decide what I'm going to sell at, take it or leave it. And the consumer, is none wiser in terms of whether they're paying, the right price for the product. It works for markets in Europe because of, they're still subsidizing their farmers. They can do it, it works for the US and all that. It doesn't work for South Africa, where, subsidies have fallen off completely. You are basically farming, producing from your own pocket. And therefore, if one, sector can simply decide, the price at which, to acquire your produce, it will be a recipe for disaster. Interestingly, the very same retailers that are intensifying direct sourcing, from retailers, they use fresh produce markets as a benchmark. So they use the price at the market to negotiate, to say that, I'll buy these things from you, and this is the price that I will pay you. But the price, they always benchmark from the price that that prevails at the time at the market. So can you imagine if you lose that, price formation element, then they will just simply decide. I'll give you an example. I went to meet the Pork SA for some other project that we were doing. And then the CEO there, he basically shared with us a very startling story. He says, no, look, we need something similar to what we have, in terms of national fresh produce market. Because in the meat industry, I'm a pork producer. I sell my carcass to a particular retailer. The retailer says, I'm paying you 15 rand for this, per kg for this carcass. I take the price. But then I visit the retailer and I find that they are selling, the very same, cut for 80 rand. And I see they haven't done any value adding. They just took it as is, put it on their shelf, 70 rand. People are buying. He says, no, I want somebody to explain to me the difference between that 15 bucks that they paid me and the 70 bucks that they are charging, the consumer. Nobody can explain. But in the absence of an alternative channel for us as meat, growers to basically sell our product, the retailer is king. And then they basically will keep pocketing, but it hasn't been the case with fresh produce. Why? And I always say it's because of this particular channel. You and I can still afford to buy potato today. You and I can still afford to buy tomatoes, and hopefully our children will continue to buy because of, these markets. There's a bit of transparency. Yes, it can be argued is how transparent, but it's better, than nothing, at all. Hence, our plea that all must be done to try to preserve, this particular channel, if we are continue to become, a food secure, a country.
Thank you, Mr. Mawasha. And I think something that we haven't spoken about, but obviously what the Commission is interested in is distortions that are being created by, or distortions that are present in the market. And I think there's the role of wholesalers. It's a topic that you cover in your submissions, but it's not something we've discussed. Perhaps if you can just talk about the sort of difference in approach between the Tshwane and Johannesburg markets and, in your view, the sort of distortions that are being created by that different approach in those two areas.
Thanks. The distortion comes about in that when a product gets, delivered to the market from the farm, it goes through what we call consignment control. So it's basically the market authorities receiving the product. As a farmer, you've delivered 100, pallets of this particular commodity. We can account for it. It's in our system. And then the truck, is allowed to basically go and deliver the product to a particular market agent that is contracted, to the farmer. You've got wholesale players at Joburg market. I'll give you an example. You've got that basically business people that came, rented space. They go to the floor every day. They buy products. They come set up within the same, premises, but outside of the trade, commission trade hall. They sell products for cash. They're allowed to operate from 5 in the morning until 5 in the afternoon, whereas, the market operations in terms of commission, they are compressed, up to, 11. So what is happening at Joburg is that the wholesalers, they are treated as a support functionary of the market. They are not competing with the market, commission, because they buy on the floor. They are not allowed to basically, bring in consignment directly, from farmers. So they are in support of the, this particular, system, or channel. And they serve a very, particular role in terms of, the segment that they are serving. Is somebody that does not have any interest in wanting to go and negotiate and buy in the trade hall, or somebody that basically wants to also have access to products beyond the market's operating hours. But what we observed, in Tshwane, and I think they'll be better suited to come and speak, for themselves, is that, you've got some wholesalers that are basically allowed to bring in products directly from their farm and then sell within the market premises. Our view is that it distorts, the price formation, for the market, because then people choose to either go, buy on the floor or to go buy from the wholesaler, That, for me, it's a problem because it usurps the power of, the markets, as a, price recovery, platform. And hence we feel that, it had to be looked at. It's said that, we've had talks that, another market, is trying to almost copy the same model, despite the disaster that, we're seeing, in Tshwane. And I'll call it a disaster because of when I was working for the Joburg market, part of my responsibility is to track, the competition, and our closest competition was Tshwane. At the time, Joburg was half the size of Tshwane in terms of turnover. So if Joburg turns over 800 million, Tshwane will be at 400. The gap has since widened. And it cannot be, because you always have to look at the population, Tshwane has got a lot of townships. You've got your, Mamelodi, Atteridgeville, Ga-Rankuwa, and all those things. Yes, Joburg is growing in terms of your Protea and then other, areas. And they're probably growing almost at the same rate. But this one is like, it's basically, taken off like a Ferrari, whereas this one is sort of, stagnated. Our view is that, we can actually attribute, the loss to the fact that, it's basically being, eaten from within. And if we are to preserve, this particular channel, I believe that, it's something that is worth, looking at to prohibit, such acts. If you want to be a wholesaler, go set up a wholesaler outside of the market. Allow the market, to basically, do what it's supposed to do. You cannot become a competition, within the market. So the fact that it's being allowed, obviously, it's a challenge. For us, we raised it because we are saying we've got the members of CPMA in Tshwane. As is, we are battling to basically survive. And we can really, do without any further competition, and then we raise it, from that, perspective, to say that, it's a challenge. To the extent that, they are buying on the floor 100%, we don't have a problem. But if they are bringing product from outside, we cannot be competing with established market agents and also be facing competition that, authorities are allowing to thrive, on the market, and nothing is done. So it was basically on that basis that, you raised the issue. Thank you.
I see. So just to clarify, it's essentially a system where in Tshwane, the market agents, the trade floor are bypassed, but in Joburg, the trading still has to proceed through the trade floor.
Yeah, very much so. Joburg doesn't allow any wholesaler to bring products. You buy on the floor, you captured it very, very well.
And in terms of your observations, the pricing, this would apply then to Tshwane, the pricing between sort of the same produce in terms of grading, quality, that sort of thing, if you compare this as close as you can, like for like, the pricing differences between the wholesaler that's trading outside the trading floor and the prices that you obtain on the trading floor, how do they compare?
For me, the worrying thing is that the pricing is almost similar, and you also have a situation whereby products that you will expect to find on the trade floor not available on the trade floor at all, but available at the wholesale. So then it's a problem, because if I'm a trader and then I specialize in selling that particular product, clearly I'm not going to go to the trade floor. I'm going to procure from the wholesale. So it's a problem, and then I think that's what we know.
Thank you, Mr. Mawasha. Chair, those are my questions.
Thank you, Mr. Mare. Just, Mr. Mawasha, as we wrap this up, just on your submission, is it paragraph 36. I think it's 141 of what we, of our paginated document. Just understanding the price formation, because I think we've observed, I think there's a lot of price volatility in this space. And I think you do attribute some of these pricing dynamics to what happens at retail and what happens at the markets. Can you maybe expand on that submission?
Thank you, Chair. I think the point that we are making here is similar to the knowledge that I gave, with the meat industry. That if you go to the market at any given time, you are likely, for instance, if you go to the vegetable hall, in almost all the market agencies are in the vegetable hall, you are likely to find all of them having spinach and cabbage, for instance, from different farmers. So as a trader, you're able to walk through the hall and decide and negotiate the price and compare quality and the likes, and then be able to, decide, which, agent you're going to patronize based on the quality and the price that they have to offer. And that basically enables you to go and sell and then derive profit. However, with the retailers, remember the idea is that they want to buy at a very steep discount from the producer and go and sell at a profit. When you visit your Pick and Pay, your Checkers and all that, you don't negotiate. The price on the shelf is the price you pay. It's not negotiable. Whereas the price at the market that prevails at that hour or moment is negotiable, depending on factors of supply and demand, but also the quality of what is available on the floor. Weather plays a very significant role, in terms of, determining, that. So there's no transparency in terms of how retailers arrive at a price. And I think I'll refer you back to the pork, analogy that I've just given you. Nobody can explain, not even to the pork, the farmer, as to why the product was bought at $15 per, kg, and it's sold at 70, and he's not able to explain. I'll give you also an example. One of the experience that I had when I was at the Joburg market some 7 years ago, we received a call from a commercial potato farmer. He was seething, he was angry, to say that I visited my local Spar. They are selling my potatoes at 120. Now, I've made a conscious decision that I'm not going to sell my products directly to any retailer. I'm taking my products to the market because I believe in this system. But explain to me that you guys, how is it that, my product was sold for $40, 40 rand, but I visit my local retailer. Obviously, he trekked all the way to Joburg because he knows that I'm selling, and I've refused to sell, to him directly. He went there, bought, but he's selling it at 120. Explain to me. I couldn't. And he was angry. He said, I've got the right. You guys must explain, what is happening. The consumer house, they don't know better. They just see that the price is 120. They will buy. So there's a gap, and I don't know how we're going to address that. But at least here, you still have a market that can act as a form of a referral to say, but chief, it doesn't make sense. The prevailing price for potatoes, it's 40 rand, almost throughout the country. How is it that you are able to arrive at, 120? Because that's what feeds into inflation. It's what I call confiscatory, pricing, because they are basically confiscating money out of the consumer's pockets. So it's happening on a wide scale, in my view, in other sectors. The reason why it's not as rampant in the horticultural sector is because of the markets. You can still go there and check that price per ton is 7,000 at the market, and therefore it doesn't justify you selling it at 12,000 per ton. At most you can add 1,000. It makes sense. So, but you don't have other form of checks and balances. In other sectors of the economy, only in the horticultural sector. Hence our plea to say that let's try to save this particular channel because it will benefit us at the end. So that's basically what we're trying to.
So maybe from your experience, so because I think we will obviously have to look at this. So when you see the prices that are prevailing at retail in informal channels, so because these are not also very transparent prices, so we don't really, I think, need to dig deeper to understand exactly, what those prices are as you compare them with those at formal retail. Have you made any of those observations just to track how the products are performing at retail? So when you compare the informal channel as well as the formal channels.
Thank you, Chair. No, we haven't, because we realized that, fortunately in this horticultural sector, as I've indicated, you've got a very huge growing segment of informal traders that I've said they now, according to the Freshmark stats, that they account for almost 40% of that 22.6 billion turnover. They are all over. You could be a retailer located here and the guy is outside selling tomatoes. Tomatoes are tomatoes. So they basically help to keep the retailers, on check. Because as a retailer, you will not want to sell the product at 20 times the price when you know that outside here there's somebody basically selling the same, product. But by the way, you're selling a very perishable product, and therefore you don't have the luxury of keeping it no longer. You basically want it, to turn over, very quick. So that basically helps them to keep in check. And what enables that is the markets, because here you've got a sector where you can go to a single place and be able to access, the widest variety of products that you believe, will sell better in your community. Without the markets, you are almost condemning the public, to be, exploited by the retailers, because there's nothing to do, to do the counterbalancing. They are the only channel where people can acquire, certain commodities. So we almost haven't done that, owing to the fact that, there's competition. It's rife, and therefore they are also cognizant that, they don't necessarily, overcharge. And I think the fact that, they are selling perishable products contributes, because you don't want this thing to still be sitting on your shelf, 3 days later, after having procured it. So you want basically, for it, to sell quicker. So it's a combination of factors. So to answer your question directly, no, we haven't, undertaken, the exercise of, double checking, if what they are charging vis-a-vis what they are paying at the market, if there's a balance, but our view is that, what consumers are paying here in Gauteng, at least from our observation, is that, it's relatively, reasonable compared to, consumers, for instance, in areas like your Umtata, where, everybody is forced to procure, strictly from retailer. There is no, alternative channels where people can go and access, these products. So in that instance, the retailer is king. The price they put on the commodity is the price that you pay, and you can't, negotiate.
No, thank you for that. So just maybe one last point on transformation and barriers to entry. I think this is what you cover in, I think it's 1.5. I think we've paginated it as 108. Because I think I just want to understand, because just the population of agents, because I think you have raised this issue about the top selling products, that there are no black agents participating there. And I think you have explained this But I just want for you to share a bit more, because I think we just need to understand if are the instances where you're approaching farmers, you get maybe rejected in writing. Is there any information? Is there any information that you can provide us to show that you have been denied access to these products? Or is there anything that you can point this inquiry to look at, particularly on issues of access to market? Especially, I think you've mentioned a few. It's potato, onions, bananas, and tomatoes. Tomatoes, I think you did explain a bit on tomatoes, but it just ended. You did not really. I still don't understand why you can't get products from ZZ2. That's, I'm still unclear there.
Okay, no, thank you, Chair. No, we don't have anything in writing. What happens, remember, ordinarily you'll just visit, Derek, for instance, is a farmer, is producing, bananas. Derek, we are a market agent, Katu Fresh is the name, trading at Joburg market, and we've got ample floor space. This is the history, this is our documentation to prove that, we are accredited, we've got the license, we've got floor space, we want to basically, be your agent for bananas, and Derek says, look, sorry guys, I'm selling my bananas through Harding, market agency at Joburg. I'm not interested. And so far, I'm happy. I've been dealing with Harding for pretty much the past, 10, 20 years. In fact, I'm the 5th generation in this family, of, selling our products through Harding. And we never have any reason to basically, to change and supply any other, agent. Sorry, but yeah, good luck. We cannot say, Derek, please give it in writing that you are refusing. He says, no, but I'm not obliged. This is my product, ultimately. It's a free market economy. You remember that if you guys, I supply you with these bananas and they don't sell, I take 100%, risk. So I'm not interested, you want my product, go to Harding agency, you can buy from them, that's fine. Out. So it's the experience, you can't force somebody to basically, consign products, to you. Ultimately, it's the situation that we find, ourselves in. And I don't think there's much that you can change, save to say that you enact a law that basically, forces them to do that. How, I really, don't know. So it's the conundrum that that we are facing. So over time, it is said that madness is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Over time, it's said that, no, look, it's not worth it. Perhaps it's best if you go to Mr. Apane there, because that he's doing, these bananas. It's a 5 hectare, but I'm sure if given, enough support, every year maybe he can, add extra, hectare, and maybe in 10 years he'll be sitting at 100 hectares. At least we are getting somewhere. The little that is able to supply, we are able to do business. And the point that we always like to make is that, while we are sitting here and talking about this thing, people are consuming. These things are needed. Consistently, people want to buy these things, right? So sometimes you don't have time. So better the little that you have, than nothing, at all. Unfortunately, when it comes to big buyers, when they come to market, like you've got a client from Botswana, when they come there, they'll tell you that, no, look, I like this thing. I need 10 pallets of these bananas. Mr. Apani can only, supply, 1 pallet a week, because in line with the scale of production, it doesn't take you anywhere. The guy says, when I am not serious, let me go to this other agent that will basically give me what I need. So you've got, those, dynamics, but at the same time, you have this big retailer that will go to Mr. Apan and say, Chief, we see, you can produce good quality, but you don't have access to capital. Here is money. Here's money. We're going to expand this operation. We're going to turn it into 100, hectare, banana production, but you only supply us. Guess what? He takes the money, and he gets, contracted to deliver for that retailer. So we have even the little that we have, and I think it said in the Bible that those that have shall have more. Those that don't have shall have the little that they have taken away. So the one pallet that we're getting from him, it's even taken away. Where does it go? It goes directly to the retailers. So because the retailer now has secured supply of bananas from him, they don't need to send their truck to the market, right? That's why, volumes that get diverted to the market, basically, it drops. But because the retailer, managed to get the price for next to nothing from Mr. Apan, they still sell it at a price as if they collected it at the market. So their margins are much, better, more improved and all that. So that's what, they are doing. And I'll share with you an experience that, and I think this is the last point I'll make. One of the big potato growers in the country, he said to me, dealing with retailers is a pain. Why? Because I receive a call to say that, we need you to go and deliver 200, pallets of your potatoes at our house tomorrow. And by the way, we are taking it at this price, and we've already, printed, brochures for insertion in newspapers. It's based on the assumption that when you will deliver. So if you can't deliver, please tell us so that we can bring this other one to replace you. But you know that once it gets to that, then you are out. He says, no, I'm forced to basically do that because of we are farming on like scale. You don't want to also take a chance of sending everything that you have to the markets. If another one comes with an alternative channel, you really want to have exposure, in that, as well. So those are the dynamics, in the industry. So we're facing multiple, challenges, from retailers, lack of transformation at the market, lack of access to capital for small-scale farmers that are supplying us, the issue of logistics, and a whole lot of other myriad, factors.
Thank you for that. I think it's just to really contextualize your submission, understand this, because it doesn't seem though as if it's a lack of product out there, but you have space in the markets. You're saying some of the farmers complain about the other channels, but yet you cannot access the product. And this is one thing maybe that you can maybe just your final thoughts on this, just to explain this. What is there a problem, a capacity issue, say with black agents, or credibility? I think you touched on credibility earlier. So what is the issue? Because it doesn't seem to me, yes, the statistics are here, but what is that challenge that you think maybe this inquiry can unlock? Is it the quality of the market? But there is product going through there as we speak. So I think this is just to understand what if we are to consider some practical solutions to unlock this constraint, which could have hopefully some measure of transformative measure in the market.
Thanks, Chair. I guess like BEE, it didn't happen voluntarily. It had to be enacted into law to basically compel companies to transform, to say that if you don't transform, you're not in compliance, or these are the consequences. it will not have happened. I don't think it happened voluntarily. And I think similarly it applies in terms of fresh produce. It's not going to happen voluntarily. And I'm not advocating that it should be forced onto people to basically, allocate a certain portion of their products to black market agents, because I don't believe in begging. But at the same time, something must give. The reality of the matter is that in this business, normally when you find, a farmer and establish a good rapport, you will want to be the sole, agent for that particular farmer. You will not want to share. Why? Because of it creates a challenge, I guess, in that if you're gonna supply your commodity to 4 different farmers or market agents at the market, different volumes, you are going to have a distorted picture, because he will sell your product at a particular price for that particular buyer, because the buyer will come to him, assuming you've allocated 4 pallets to him, 5 pallets to that one, 10 pallets to the other. But then the buyer comes and says, I'm taking the entire 4 pallets, but I'm also taking these other commodities. So he is able to negotiate a better price for him. But as a farmer, when you receive the sales report, you've given this guy 4 pallets, but of the 4, he's the one that sold the product at a lower price than the one that you allocated 10 pallets to. But you will not be privy to the reasons why. The reasons because the buyer, when the buyer came, he took the 4 pallets plus 20 other products, from the same agent, but that are different to what as a farmer, you are supplying. So then as a farmer, you're going to sit and say, but then do I continue using this guy, given that I got less than the price that this one sold my product at? In fact, I might as well consolidate all my, sales with this particular agent, because of the 4 is the one that gave me a better, price. So, and then you will not want to entertain any other market agent that may want to come and convince you otherwise. Again, the issue of the product that you are selling being a highly, highly perishable product. That you really don't have time, you want to send it to the market and get your money. You don't want to hear stories, because once, the product is not sold, it gets destroyed. And with it, the cost that went into it, the boxes that you will have paid for and all that. So farmers don't really want to, take a chance. At least this is from my, layman's, reading of the situation. So the only way could be that, yes, maybe this has to be legislated, but then you are forcing them. It's not voluntarily, so I don't know how it will come out, on the other hand. It might create more acrimony, I don't know. So, but it's something that, needs to be looked at, carefully. Hence, as a CBMA, we are advocating for development of farmers that have proven, to have experience, that have learned, that have skills, but that do not have capital. We said, find ways to basically assist them to access, capital, help, to improve, their scale of production, and let's grow, from there. We believe, that could be a better, option. So if big commercial farmers choose to divert a portion of their product to, help, in the transformation of the sector, I believe it should be voluntarily more than anything, because then, you're able to draw and grow the relationship better than if it is legislated. I don't know. So I'll be very, very honest and say, we really don't know. Again, they send these products to you, and for circumstances beyond your control, you're not able to sell, and the product gets destroyed. Then the very same farmer will not be happy, and it will not have anything to do with your competency. It could be other factors, like market getting flooded and all that. So it's a whole lot of other issues. And I know that there are other agents that basically commit to a farmer that I'll sell 100% of what you sell to me. And whatever loss that we incur, I will cover it from my pocket. So as a farmer, it's the best incentive to say that, there 100% of what I sent, are you able to give me the same guarantees? We can't. We don't have deep pockets.
Okay, thank you very much for that explanation. Just maybe one last point. I think you're talking about waste, right? And I didn't see. Because I think, just to understand, so is there any information that's recorded anywhere where we can see the losses? So for whatever reason, that product's getting destroyed. So in the Joburg market, this is X that is getting destroyed because it's not being sold, or it's allocated to, agents that have not performed that well. So do you have some idea? Because I just asked this on the credibility question, So who sort of causes distraction the most? So which channel is probably the least efficient?
There's a report compiled by Tshwane Market on behalf of all the 16 markets. So all markets are obliged to submit their statistics to Tshwane Market, to basically collect the information on behalf of the industry and share or disseminate the information monthly to stakeholders. The report basically, showcases the turnover by market, including the volume, the price per ton, for that particular month. It also gives a detailed, a breakdown of the 4 major commodities in terms of, individual, sales, including a grouping of the balance. So it will say in the fruit, I think they only show us the banana, and the rest will be the rest of the fruits. In the vegetable, it will be the top 3, vegetables, and then they'll also amalgamate the rest of the others. The very same report monthly, it shows, the waste at the market, by market. So you will be able to see that Joburg market, the waste for that particular month was 1%. For Tshwane, it was 1.5, percent. I would imagine the system is sophisticated enough to drill down and basically, identify, the market agent, from whom, the product, was taken for destroyers. Because before the product is destroyed or condemned for waste, the farmer must be, consulted. You cannot just, remember we said, it's the property of the farmer. So if you say, if the product is not being sold, the farmer needs to give consent for his product to be destroyed. You just don't do it arbitrarily. And some farmers ask for evidence. They need to be, sent pictures. And of course, the market agents will have to explain as to why, the product, couldn't be sold. And then this is what will make you retain, the farmer, for instance. So yeah, that information, is available, but I'm sure it can be drilled down to, commodities, by market agents, and the likes.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mawasha. Unless if you have anything you would like to share with the inquiry, otherwise we'll excuse you. But
thank you, Chair, for the opportunity. We've got nothing further to share.
all right, thank you very much for your time. You are excused. Thank you. Shall we take maybe 10 minutes, just so that we can have the next one coming through? Yeah. Thank you very much.
Press becomes ready to speak.
Yeah.
Then when you
We resume with our session. We now call Mr. Albert Lamley, who's directing sales for DEPA. Mr. Bowles, over to you.
Thank you, and good afternoon, and apologies for running a little bit over time. But you know how these things go. First of all, thank you for coming through. We do appreciate it. Maybe just for the record, can you please just state your full names and your designation for the record?
Peter William Fraser, Manager and Sales, Dapper Agencies, Johannesburg Market.
And I'm Albert Lumley, a director at Dapper Agencies and a salesman. And as a matter of interest, Dapper Agencies is the oldest agency on the market. We've been going for 70 years. And I myself have been there for 45 years. So I've got a lot of experience. I think I know what's happening. So I'd love the questions at the end of what we have to say, and we'll answer anything we can.
Thank you, Mr. Lumley. Before we start, there is an oath and affirmation in front of you. Firstly, we'd just like to ask if you have any objections to taking the oath.
Not at all.
And then if you can, please, just for the record again, just state your name and then read from the card.
Glasses, yeah.
Okay, no worries.
My name is Albert Lumley. I swear that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Mr. Lumley, sorry, you're going to have to do that again. Just push the red button every time, sorry. You can actually just leave it on.
Yeah,
Oh,
just
leave it on. Okay.
Okay, now you say.
My name is Albert Lumley. I swear that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. I solemnly affirm that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, and nothing but the truth.
My name is Peter William Fraser. I swear the evidence that I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Thank you. All right, maybe just in terms of housekeeping, I think the way we've divided the session up is we'll allow you some time up front, roughly sort of 30 minutes, just to tell us about what you do and maybe just some of your views on the particular market. And then the second session will be with us. We'll just ask you some questions that we've prepared and take you through that. All right?
Fine.
The floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, I'll start. What I'd like to say is we deal with farmers. That's our business. And I'd like to stress the importance of the farming community in this country. Farmers are the backbone of any country. And we don't realize what a hard job it is to farm. It's the most difficult industry to get into in the country. They deal with all kinds of things, the weather, increasing prices. It's a very difficult business. And we've been dealing for many years, and we've seen farmers come and farmers go. Not all farmers make it. It's a very difficult industry. And I'll give an example that people now asking why the potato price is so high. It's pure supply and demand. And farmers have said to me, if the price goes under 40 Rand, we stop producing, because then they are losing money. So it's such a difficult thing, and we've got to be aware of it because we are dealing with these farmers. So our role on the market, we must encourage farmers to supply the market, because the market's not the only avenue that they have now to supply their goods. They can supply anywhere, the chain stores. They can supply, and so we must convince those farmers to supply us agents on the market. And then on the market, on Joburg market, we've got 14 different agents. I have to convince that farmer to give to me, because I'll get him the best price that there is. At the same time, I must convince the buyer to buy from me, because he's getting the best price from me. And that, as a salesman on the market, is your job every single day. It's not one day you can relax. Every day you must know what's on the market, and you have to be able to be on top of your game. And like we talk about the Competitions Commission, the market is pure competition. There are 14 agents fighting every day over farmers. You slip up on a farmer one day, 3 agents are going to find him and tell him. So that it's pure competition. And not just that, you must remember, the farmers got options now, especially in fruit. They can export, which they do first of all, because that's where they make most of their money, is on export market. Then they've got juicing options. So you must be able to give him a price that he's happy with to supply you on the market. And that's not easy. It's every single day, because they've got a juice price and they add up transport, commission. Is it worth their while supplying or not? It's not easy that things just arrive on the market. That we've got to really realize that. And then the importance of the market. A small farmer can enter the market. He's got a place where he can sell his goods, which is very important. The buyers, hawkers, they can come to the market, buy 100 bags of oranges, and go make themselves 500 rand. Easy entry. So that's why the market's really very, very important. And our role is to operate on that market. And that, Peter, what you want to add there?
Can you correct me? How long have we been on the market?
70 years Dapper now.
Dapper, been trading there 70 years. I've only been there 20 years. I come from a different environment totally. And when I got onto the market, it's a very, very dynamic workplace. It changes every day. We get any amount of people and any nationality of person comes to Johannesburg market. If you want to see how many foreigners are in the country, you can come and look at Johannesburg. You'll find them there. There's plenty. And everyone in Johannesburg market comes there for a reason. They come there to make money, to feed their families, and it's dynamic. I cannot just sell to big businesses no more. We've got to retail. And retail is not easy. Where a person wants one box or a person wants 20 boxes, he's going to come to me and we're going to argue about a price. I'm going to have a price, but he says, listen, I can get it cheaper. And if I want to do the sale, I need those guys on my floor every single day. I believe at any given time, there's about 15,000 people walking onto that floor at any given time. And we got to be on top of our game every single day. I got to know exactly what's on the floor by each and every agent. I've got to go look. And I walk the floor every single morning. I walk the floor 3 o'clock in the morning. I walk the floor and I go look. What is on the floor? What I've got, I know what I've got. How does my product compare to that man's product just down the road? Because if my product is a better product than him, I'm going to get a better price than him. And that's my job. My job is to get the best price for the farmer. But if I'm going to be outprice myself on the market, I'm not going to sell anything. I'm not going to sell anything because that guy is just going to walk past me and says, no, you're totally out. Sorry. I'm going to get the same product just down the road for 10 rand cheaper. The informal sector in Johannesburg market is of huge importance. They're huge. Say 20 years ago, your big buyers contributed about 50 to 60% of your business. That's gone. It's gone. Your informal sector represents about 65% of the market now. Your informal sector. Those are the peoples, your mamas, that come to the market, they buy to go sell on the street. Them. That's the important part now. Not your big buyers. It's gone. Those big buyers have got different options now. Pick and Pays, your Spars, they get direct. They are still, the Pick and Pays, the small, the family stores, they are there still. But your informal sector is huge. When we talk about farmers, the informal sector, farming sector, I can remember clearly that it was so informal that they battled to get their stock into Johannesburg market. They battled because there's reasons for it. They didn't know how to pack. They didn't know what's the standards, what's the standards that the market should have, and the packing material, transport, which is the biggest problem they had, transport, to get it from their farm to the market. Since then, that sector has grown tremendously. We did a count on how many farmers how many producers we as an agency has got. We service about 3,265 different producers. Of that, if I'm not mistaken, 2,200 of them are informal sectors. Comes from the informal sector. 2,200. And that's small farmers that send 20 boxes, and now that used to send 20 boxes is now sending 3,000 boxes. It's stuff that the people want on the floor, that people need on the floor, and it's just getting bigger. That informal sector, farming sector, is just getting bigger by the day. I'm trying to think, what else should I say? What else can I say about Johannesburg market, about DAPA agencies? We try and accommodate each and every farmer. I get phone calls every day from an informal farmer, or even from any farmer that's trying to get onto the market, and we assist them. We try to get them the PUC code for them to get into the Johannesburg market. We tell them the packaging. We school them. We school the people that don't know. And I've got staff on the floor that look especially after your informal farming sector. If I'm not mistaken, we've got about 14 black salesmen at the moment currently, or the let's say the previously disadvantaged salesmen. Now they're fully fledged salesmen on our floor, and they help us tremendously with, especially your informal sector farming. They need to contact them each and every day, every morning, and after sales, inform them what is sold, ensure that the payment goes through. So it's a very tough business, but it's dynamic. We cannot afford to lose a market like, or any of our regional markets, but a market like Johannesburg, we cannot afford that market to fall flat. We feed too many people in the Gauteng area from Johannesburg market. Just too many. We're not talking hundreds of thousands, we're talking millions of people that gets fed through the Johannesburg market. And that happens every single day, Monday to Saturday. Every single day, those people are there. The people are there to buy, to go and sell. I can remember clearly the day, was it COVID? I think it was COVID, when they shut down everything. And they closed Johannesburg market because everybody was scared of COVID. And that Monday came. Gates were closed. It wasn't closed for long. Those people came through the gates to go buy the stuff on the floor. They broke the gates down to get to the floor. You can't blame people that want to feed their families. You can't blame those people to get onto the floors to feed themselves. It was so clear. I still sat up in the main building and we watched down, and the people just walked through the gates. And they had to. We had stock on the floor. They have to come. They have to come and buy. So, I don't know, to me, the market is critical for this country, it's critical for Johannesburg, and we cannot afford Johannesburg market to not to be able to be there anymore. Like, it's got to function. It's got to keep on functioning. So, yeah, any questions? If I can help, I'll answer.
Just one other thing, the most pertinent question we get asked is how do you make the price? Because that's the market's actual function. Now, we've got a computer system which will give you the averages of what's getting sold by 14 agents, but it gives you an average price. Now, all goods are different. Oranges are not oranges. There are good oranges, bad oranges. So you've got to walk the floor every morning to know what's on the market to make a price. And at the end of the day, it's made by supply and demand. Supply and demand, and you can make mistakes, then you won't sell. Or you sell too cheap, you upset your farmer. So it's a balancing act every single day. There's not one day the same as the next. And that's what most people always ask, how do you make the price? Because that's the most important thing. When Pick n Pay buys from a farmer, they check the market price. What's the market average price? Because they want to know what to pay the farmer. If there's no market, how do you make the price? It'll happen what happens in the USA. The stores determine the price to farmers. They pay what they want to pay because they don't have this alternative. That's it.
Thank you. Yeah, that was great. Look, I think maybe let's just start with Dapper. And you said you've been around for a long, long time. Tell us a bit more about yourselves. Are you based only in Johannesburg and the Joburg market?
I'm in Johannesburg.
And what commodities are you specializing in?
We do everything, but we specialize in citrus and fruit. Fruit we're very big at. And we do potatoes, not huge. We do veggies, but our main business is fruit. Citrus and fruit. That's our main business.
All right. And the relationship that you have with the farmers, I mean, you mentioned you've got 3,000 farmers that you are representing. And on the buyer's side?
The farmers, we've actually checked, it's 3,200 farmers over 3 years.
Okay.
It's hard to determine.
Yeah.
That's the 3-year period. We service 3,200, roughly 3,200 farmers. And it's an ongoing business all day, all night. Because we open 24 hours a day because we offload through the night for the next day. And then with the buyers is when you've got experience, you've been there long enough, you get to know your buyers. And that's why maybe you can do a bit better or a bit worse, but you get to know your buyers, who wants what. But there's a lot of informal buyers which come and go all the time. So that's hard to say, the buyers, there's no real record. I think the market might have record. We don't, of the number of buyers, but there's a lot.
So maybe explain the process of engagement. So you've got all of these farmers. Now, do you go out and actively, approach these farmers, or do they come to you? How does that work?
Man, that's the crux of the matter. You must convince the farmer to supply you. But on the market, you've got 14 different agents, all vying for his product, because we earn commission. So what we sell, we take a commission. So you've got to convince that farmer to supply you. And one of the biggest ways is he's got to trust you. So being in the market so long, you earn trust. Your name becomes everything. If you get a bad name in this industry, you don't last, you're gone. So to me, it's been my most important thing over the years to build a name with farmers. Then you get the referrals. That farmer will say, I've had good service there. This is what you do. So it's very, very competitive. That's what I keep stressing. It's, when people said we collude as agents, it's impossible. Because you're all vying for business. And the more you can sell, the more commission you get.
And just in terms of experience, I mean, is it on-the-job experience? I mean, how does one get into that? Is there some sort of formal training that you?
There is with APAC. There is a training thing, so you know the laws, the rules. But to actual sell, you got to learn it on the floor. The actual selling, dealing with buyers, dealing with farmers, that you can't learn. That takes time, and you got to have it in you. It's like farmers. If you and I go farm, we'll mess it up. But farmers they're born farmers, honestly, because what they go through. And it's the same as the market, as a salesman. It's easy maybe to sit, look at a computer, that's the average price today, and you sell. But if you're on top of your game, that product's not as good as that one, you can get a bit more or a bit less. And that's every day that you are doing that.
So do you actively go out and seek
Yes, you do.
new farmers?
Yes, you do.
And go and visit them on their farms?
Yes,
and,
you do,
and-
yeah.
So what is the value proposition that Dapper, for instance, offers? You know, I mean, obviously you got price, commission, and all of those things, but how does Dapper sell itself?
Honestly,
Especially now, specifically to the 2,000 small-scale farmers that you've mentioned.
that we got 14 black salesmen doing a good job with that. Because I don't always understand the language, but they are communicating and they're growing that business, which is fantastic for us.
Maybe I can give you a bit of insight on, especially because the veggie side is 90% of your informal sector is from the veggie side, not on your potato side, not on your citrus side. That's expensive farming. Now, 95% of these farmers we're talking about is informal sector, and they go veggies. Now, I've had a guy that's working for me for the last 8 years, and now all of a sudden in the last 3 years he came to me and he said, listen here, he goes home on a weekend and he goes to his community and he says, I've got so much stock, can you sell it for me? So I said, whoa, if you can draw those farmers and they trust you, you come and sell it. Now I've got him now training now for the last 3 years, still training, because it's not a process where you say, okay, now you're a salesman. No, you've got to be trusted. You must know what you're doing. You must be able to walk the floor. You must be able to judge prices. You must get to know your customers. And then after that, he's been under my wing now for the last 3 years, and I can see the leaps and bounds that he's drawing stock that we never ever had before. And now he's selling, and now he's earning commission as well. And I said to him, within the next 6 months, you're going to go through that course, you're going to write it, and I'm your backstop. I'll be there for you. All you got to do is you keep on drawing the farmers. He's built up such a good name so far. I think from scratch, he started scratch. He's already doing over 600,000 a month turnover. And that's not easy. That's not easy, especially on a veggie floor. That's not easy. If you're doing 600,000, and as a matter of fact, we've got one lady there doing 1.5 million already, and she also started from nothing. From nothing, she's doing 1.5 million already, and that's good. That's excellent for her on a veggie floor. That's excellent for her. Anybody that does over 1.5 million on a veggie floor from the informal sector is doing brilliant. She's doing brilliant. So, yes, it's a tough business, but I can't speak the language, but I've got, I'll tell you now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least 8 on my veggie floor that started from scratch, and they're already doing a business of between a million to 2 million. And if I combine their sales together, we're talking about 3 million. And that's good. That's good from scratch. And veggie, very good.
So you mentioned the computer system that you use
Yes.
to determine pricing. Is that the market's computer system, or
That's
is that
the
something
market
that DAP has
system.
developed?
It's a market
So
system.
everyone's got access to that.
Everyone's got
access
access
to
to
it.
it,
And
except
farmers as well.
farmers has also got
They also
access.
got access to it.
And the buyers?
No, buyers have not got access to it. In other words, unless we allow them to fiddle on our computer, which we can't. We can't allow that.
Yeah.
But all those devices are locked away in any case, and only I've got access to it, or a salesman has got access to it. So, but everyone on the floor has got access to it. Every salesman has got access to that information. So, for a box of tomatoes, for instance, depending on what size it is, what color it is, and what variety it is, you'll be able to pick it up there. If I've got jam tomatoes on the floor, and I know, yes, this looks very nice, and I reckon it's about 80 Rand, I can go onto the computer and see, but hey, I'm way out. It's 120 Rand. There's just not enough jam tomatoes on the floor.
Yeah.
So you can pick it up immediately. Within a half an hour, you'll know exactly what's happening on this system. So you adapt, and even quicker than a computer is your buyer. Your buyer walks in and you say 120 Rand or 80 Rand. If it's 80 Rand, you can have 1,000 buyers there within 5 minutes. Just because they heard jam tomatoes 80 Rand and the actual price is 120 Rand. You'll know immediately you made a mistake. Immediately.
Yeah.
Because those guys will be there like a flash. Especially tomatoes. Because that's one of their biggest sellers. That's what sells.
On the market, it's the biggest seller.
Yeah.
So you mentioned your agent. So DAP is an agency.
Yeah.
So you employ these agents.
Salesmen.
The salesmen. We call them salesmen. I know
Yes.
people
Yeah.
call them agents, but they're salesmen.
Are
For an
they
agency.
employed by you? I mean, do they
Yes.
work on a commission basis?
They're employed by us on a commission basis. And that's another thing we must remember. There's 14 agencies out there. If my salesman is a good salesman and he's performing, the next agency is going to try and poach him.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, he's going to poach him. He's going to come and say, listen, I've got a better offer for you. Please come to us. Bring your farmers with us. Because the farmers don't stay with the agency. The farmers
Stays with the
trust
salesman.
the salesman. The salesman is the person they trust. Not the agency. The agency pays the money and pays the wages and all that and makes sure the payments go through. But the salesman builds up that trust relationship between himself and the farmer and the buyers. Not just the farmer, the buyers as well. So I've got a guy working for me, and he's a salesman, but the way he sells and his repertoire with the farmers and the buyers is so good. He's an asset to us, and he's doing well. He's doing very, very well. I'm actually very proud of him, because from when I learned, when I got to know him up till now, he's grown. He's grown from a guy that was just working he's now working for commission, and commission, it's an incentive. The more you sell, the more money you make.
Are there any instances where you don't work with a particular farmer, or you choose to work with some farmers over others? I mean, what determines that? Or you guys will just, whatever produce is coming in, doesn't matter who it's from?
I'll get a phone call from any farmer. As a matter of fact, I got a phone call now. I was sitting outside there. I don't know where he got my name from. He just said, can you sell my stuff? I said, by all means I can sell it. I'd like to know what it looks like, how it looks, but yes. And
You try and take anything.
I
Try
take
and take everything.
each and everything, because if I don't do it, I don't know, RSA's around here somewhere,
Where's
they
our
would have taken him.
Yeah.
They would have taken him, yeah. No, that's...
Thank you. So maybe just the competitive landscape for market agents. You said it's highly competitive. Just describe that to us at the Joburg market where you're present. How many agents? You said there's 14 of them.
There's 14 different
14.
agencies on the market.
Yeah.
And everyone is vying for exactly the same farmers as I'm vying for. There's only so many farmers in the country. And if they see a good product on my floor, I guarantee you they will be phoning that farmer tomorrow.
Or
and
going
asking-
to see him.
Or
Try
go to see
try
him,
and
yeah.
convince him
Yeah.
to supply them.
Yeah, but that's the name of the game. They must go out and convince him, because it's a business. And the more money the more stock you sell, the more commission you make. It's very, very competitive. I've got two very loyal farmers, in my opinion. I look after them like babies. You know, I don't want to lose them because they send me good products. I really look after them. But every now and then I see, there's a pallet on that floor. What's it doing there? And I found him. He says, "Yeah, Peter, I moes het doen, joh." I said, "Why?" He says, "No, this guy's phoning me every day. I'll just get him off my back. I gave him a pallet. I will see how he does." And that's true. It happens. It happens continuously. I can't relax for one day. Me, on the veggie floor, very competitive.
Yeah.
I can't relax for one day. And veggie farmers tend to move easier than other farmers. I don't know. The citrus farmers, they know what they've been getting for the last 20 years. And the veggie farmers, because of their products, if they can get 10 rand, especially your informal sector, if they can get 10 rand better from a different salesperson, they'll move. The loyalty is not as good as what on the citrus side is or the potato side is. You can't mess up on any side. That's a guarantee. You can't mess up on any side. But I just find the loyalty on the veggie side is not as staunch as on the citrus side or the potato side.
You mentioned RSA, so who are the other big role players on the Joburg market?
Grow.
Where do you sort
We're a
of
medium
feature?
agency on the market.
Medium, okay.
We're
Yeah,
medium.
we medium, yeah.
Yeah, we're not. It's RSA, Grow, Subtropica, then us. So we're about the
Okay.
fifth.
Yeah, they corporate.
Yeah.
That's
You'll
big.
get more details when Yaku does his presentation.
They
Then you'll
corporate.
you'll get the detail there.
And why have you guys focused on Joburg and haven't sort of diversified or moved it?
Oh, well, you
It's
can
a,
answer that.
it's a thing of honesty. Now, we on Joburg, we can manage and see what's going on. You got an agency in Durban, you don't know what's going on. And temptation is there. So to keep controls there, I think they run around endlessly. And we're happy, we're doing well what we're doing, and that's it. Concentrate, do what you know, and do it well. That's what I feel.
All right. I think you've spoken about the sort of challenges that you guys have had as market agents and your position and all of that. But I mean, how have you overcome those challenges? So you said you're a medium-sized agency. How do you compete with the big guys? I mean,
Well, we're like now with fruit. We probably compete very well with them.
Yeah.
On veggies, we don't really, potatoes, okay, but not
Yeah.
bad. But fruit, we're a force. We're
Yeah.
very big in fruit.
I agree. Remember, I think in a case like RSA, they got much bigger sections. A tomato section makes or breaks a floor. Now, if you look at RSA, for instance, they got ZZ2 on their floor. Now ZZ2 is a business of note. It's huge. And tomatoes is one of your best sellers?
The best seller.
The best seller on the market.
And potatoes. Potatoes.
Yeah, I think tomatoes, potatoes, and then bananas. That's how it works. Something like
Something
that.
like that.
Yeah, something. Tomatoes, bigger sales on the.
have you ever sold ZZ2 tomatoes?
Man,
No.
Have
many
you tried?
years,
I mean,
many
Yeah.
years ago, you used to split between 4 agencies.
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
That's many years ago. And then they consolidated, and they now use only RSA, and that works for them. Works for the farmer, and you know,
are there any exclusivity arrangements between them that you know of? Or?
No, that we don't know.
look, they supply only RSA,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but also it's day to day. They don't perform, they leave them. So they keep them on their toes all the time. There's no like contractual agreements with any farmer. With not one agency or farmer. He can do what he wants with his product. So you've got to be on your toes all the time.
So maybe just feeding into that, is DAPA aware of any cross-shareholdings or cross-directorships between competing market agents at the Joburg NFPM or anywhere else?
We just in DAPA.
Yeah.
And
But not you guys, but have you heard of others? And
some guys have bought other agencies out, but nothing, there's no
Yeah, no, that's very difficult to say. I don't know.
Okay.
I know a lot of smaller agencies fall under maybe subtropical.
Subtropical, maybe.
Yeah.
They maybe bought 2 or 3 agents.
Yeah, maybe they bought the smaller agencies out and that, but not that I know of.
If I can say something, it's hard for a small agency to survive.
Yeah.
Why is that?
You got huge costs. You got your forklifts, your wages. So you got to do a certain amount of turnover to cover that. So for small agencies, it's very tough. And for me or you to go into the market with agency tomorrow, it takes years to build trust with farmers. So it's very difficult for a young agency to come in and do well, unless he gets salesmen from the bigger agencies to come join him. It's almost impossible, because it takes years to build relationships with farmers. They've got to trust you. It takes time. So you don't come in and things arrive there. It doesn't work that way. You've got to work for it, and it takes time. And you've got to win the farmer's trust.
Maybe just moving on to the commissions. So what we've observed as the inquiry so far is that there's been very little price competition in terms of the commissions. So how does DAPA calculate its commissions? Are you guys flexible in that regard, or is it?
You are. You are. There's certain farmers will get a bit less, and then if a farmer sends unpalletized, you might charge him a bit more with his permission. Because in the Agents Act, we can't charge more than 7.5%. It actually says that, even though some people disagreed. But we aren't allowed to charge more unless the farmer gives you permission. But you can go a little bit less. And some guys do, to try and get the business. They might give him 1 or 2%. But we work on 7.5%. It's a small margin. There's not big margins there. So that's why it's so difficult for small agencies. The margins are very small, and you can't charge the farmers more because it's their expense. It's an out-and-out expense for them. So it's very competitive, very competitive.
Is it more competitive on the non-price sort of factors?
How do you mean?
So the value adds that you guys have, or is it very, very competitive on the commissions itself? So if you guys are at 7.5%, somebody comes in and says, I'll go down to 7.25, the guy will move for that, or is it more?
So that's very easy. I'll tell a farmer, I'll give you 1% discount. That's on 30 Rand, it's 3 Rand. But I'm getting you 5 to 10 Rand more than any other agent on the market. Is it worth that 1%? Or is the price more important to you?
So that's what I'm saying. So the non-price, and I'm talking about non-price, I'm talking about you can offer a better service, as in you can get a better price on the buyer's side.
That's
That's where. So
that's where the money is for the farmer.
All right. So is that the reason why you're not seeing a lot of price competition at that commission level? Because we've seen it's relatively stable.
It is stable, yeah.
Yeah.
It is stable.
All right, and maybe just to round that off, what can be done to increase price competition at that level? Do you think if there's more market agents entering?
Commission or price?
No, commission. So I'm talking specifically about commission.
It's a small amount. Rather get 10 Rand more on a product than 1% discount or commission.
Yeah.
If a guy's prepared to give a percent commission, there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
He's not going to get him the price.
Fair enough. Okay. So you mentioned there's 14 market agents.
Yes. Yeah.
We're talking about thousands of farmers. Why are we not seeing
over 3 years?
Yes, no, I know, but but you guys are medium sized in your own admission. So I can imagine there's thousands of farmers trading on that floor. Well, not trading, selling produce on that floor.
Yeah.
So, what you mentioned, it's difficult to enter that market, but what are the barriers to entry for a new market agent wishing to enter the market?
Knowledge, and experience, and relationships. Because you build relationships with your farmers. It takes time. It doesn't happen 1, 2, 3 weeks, 2 years, takes time.
And regulatory barriers, or sort of cost. I mean, what does it cost
No.
you to?
No,
Is that rather insignificant in relation to?
it is.
And is that one of the main reasons why you're seeing so few new entrants?
We've had a lot of entrants,
Have we?
but they haven't lasted
Yeah.
because of what I've said. They haven't lasted. It's difficult industry. It's not easy. So like things don't just happen. You got to make it happen, and that you need experience, time, relationships. It's all about that.
So we've heard that if you don't have access to sort of the big four commodities, you mentioned it was tomatoes, onions, potatoes, bananas. Those are the sort of big movers. If you don't have access to that as an agent, you are already,
on
the
the back
handbrake's on.
You're on the back foot.
So how does one break
I wouldn't
into?
say that because the potatoes and onions on Johannesburg and Pretoria is in a different hall. So you can go and operate there, get 1 or 2 farmers, you're in with a product. Fruit hall is the same, the veggie hall. So that's made it easier for guys to enter.
Yeah.
Because they're with other, you got a big agent next to you or over here. So you're in the middle, so you got buyers going around you all day. So you should be able to do something.
Yeah. But is it a lot harder to get produce
Yes.
from in those specific commodities? Because of the relationships, established relationships?
It is, yeah, it is.
If I can add just on a new agent, if he wants to open up, 99% of the time he'll open up on the veggie side first, because the loyalty of farmers is they tend to move around, and I reckon if a guy comes into Johannesburg market on the veggie side, he can make a living. He can do well, but it's hard work. It's not going to be easy. But if I just take the few guys that I've got there on the veggie side now, and I tell them, listen, I want to put you on your own now, and you as a agency, you start an agent on your own, you'll be able to do it. The problem is, once he does that, the back office is a bit more difficult. Discipline, the back office discipline, the discipline around forklifts, discipline around informal workers. You know, to run a business is not easy, especially there. So you got to watch your costs. So if someone comes in there and is a business-minded person, and he starts drawing farmers, and he really wants to make a difference on the market, and he wants to run a business there, he'll be able to do it. Start from the veggie side, and then build it up to citrus and potatoes. Yeah. But to start by potatoes, if he gets a big farmer, a potato farmer, he's going to make money.
He's not going to get one.
But he's not going to get one easy.
It takes time to
It
get
takes
to
time.
Yeah.
It's expensive farming. Potatoes, expensive farming. Citrus, expensive farming. Veggies is cheaper, and your planning in veggies is 6 months. You know, I can plan to plant pumpkins now, and in 6 months' time I've got pumpkins or butternuts or something like that. Citrus, what's it? 5
You have
years,
to wait
6 years?
3-5 years before you get an income.
Before you get an income.
So
Scale as well.
Yeah. So I you know, it's to me, I think there's a few on the Johannesburg market that's successful, but the smaller agents, they've been successful, but it's hard work. They've got to be on top of the game all the time.
Okay. Floor space allocation.
that's another one.
Yeah.
That's the biggest fight on Joburg market every year. It's nobody will help anybody because it's the floor space is limited. So everyone's fighting for space.
Okay.
That's an ongoing for 50 years.
Sure.
And it'll be the next 50 years, we'll still be fighting over floor space.
Okay.
So what they do now, they do turnover and mass, and they work out your allocation on the whole, and that's what you get now. And it's fair, but it's a big fight every year.
So who administers those formulas?
The market department.
The market, have.
Yeah.
And do you guys have input into that? I mean, do they consult with you and see?
I
if it's
check their
working?
figures.
We check the figures, that's all we could do.
I check their figures to make sure that they're not doing me in. Yeah, no, we check their figures, and we still argue the point, and we fight, and then I don't know. I don't think we'll ever be friends about over floor space, but we have a good scrap about floor space.
So I mean, it's vital, obviously.
That's
It's vital,
yeah.
it's vital.
So-
You can't grow your business without floor space.
Yeah.
So now, in terms of new entrants, you're talking about guys entering the market. Is there floor space available?
They get allocated a space.
Yeah, they get allocated a space. They get a minimum.
A minimal operational area where they
a
can
minimal
operate.
operational area which they can, and that depends. Even if they do 1,000 rand a month, it doesn't matter. That's their space.
Yeah.
It gets allocated to them.
And they give them time to try and build it.
Yeah, and they get time.
And the location of that, I mean, obviously location might be important. I don't know.
Yeah, no, the allocation, the market allocates it. Allocates
But
it.
where?
Oh, yeah,
It's in between big agents,
in between bigger
Which is
agents,
prime.
that-
which is
yeah,
prime, yeah.
Yeah.
So they're not given a sort of section.
No,
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 no, no, no.
Now, what we've done on Joburg, your two biggest agents on the far sides of the wall,
Yeah.
and you go down to the middle. So it's actually a fair system.
Yeah.
Where the buyers are walking up and down all day. So you will have access to buyers.
All right, I think I've covered that. So moving now to the growers' side, to the farmers. I mean, we've obviously observed significant challenges. We've done workshops now around the country with small-scale farmers. You know, what are the challenges you guys have encountered when dealing with small-scale farmers in selling their produce on the market floors? So, I mean, you're working with a lot of small-scale farmers. Maybe talk to us about this.
What I can say there, which is very important, we have to pay money over to APAC when you can't find a farmer to pay him. You haven't got a bank account, and you can't get hold of him. So what we found, a lot of these small-scale farmers don't get paid. But from the agency's point of view, you try, but you don't always have a bank account or know where to pay it. He hasn't given you the proper information. Then after 3 months, we have to pay that money over to APAC. So we can't keep that money. It goes to APAC, and they keep it. And then those farmers can claim from APAC. But that's been a big problem over the years, which it's actually getting better.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as it used to be. Yeah. But we used to pay a lot of money over, and it's heartbreaking because you know the farmer's farming and not getting his money. But that has got
So
less.
how does that farmer come to you? Because do they pick up the phone?
A
Or
lot,
was
yeah.
the produce arrive? Maybe there was a section, on a big commercial truck where the guys are, they said, okay, yes, choose 2 square meters for your stuff, and then it arrives at the market. They don't phone ahead of time, so they don't do that.
In the old days, no. But now it's getting better.
Okay.
It's with cell phones now, it's actually working much better.
So in the past, it just used to arrive, and then
Yeah.
what happened if it arrived? Who would allocate that produce? Would be
You get a delivery note with the farmer's details on. But now
but now,
Yeah.
so if it arrives at the gates, they haven't phoned ahead. They haven't arranged with an agent to sell on their behalf. So it comes as part of a consignment of other goods. Does the market itself say, okay, well,
No.
you've got some
Maybe I
potatoes,
can-
you take it, or do you guys
Maybe I
have a
can
look and say,
correct
I'll
you
take
now.
it? Or,
Any stock that comes through the gate, and the gate can't allocate a agency to it because he's an unknown farmer. All farmers must get registered prior to delivery. He must be known at the gate.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he doesn't get allocated a salesman or an agency. Because every agency's got a salesman, got an agency number. Now, it's improved tremendously. It doesn't happen like that no more. It's every guy. It's word of mouth. They hear, listen here, this guy's been doing good for me, and then you get a phone call and they ask, can they send their stuff to you? Obviously, you're going to try and help the person to make sure he's got a registration number, make sure he's got the bank details, make sure he's got an email address, or at least an SMS, and a fixed address. Mm-hmm. That's the requirements beforehand. Then we register that farmer through the market system. Now, once he gets a number allocated, the PUC number allocated, when it comes through the gate, you'll know exactly that PUC number will be allocated to that person, that farmer.
Agency, yeah.
And that farmer, then he addresses it to the agency of his choice, and then the gate will allocate the agency's number. It used to be a big truck just comes in, arrives, and there's a lot of stuff on there, and we just don't know what's happening.
It's much better now.
That is gone. It's not so prevalent no more. It's improved tremendously. The problem that most of these small little farmers got is they don't know how to pack it, and they don't know what is the requirements. In other words, they just pack, they throw it into a box, and they send it. And we said, no, you pack it nicely in a box. People buy with their eyes, they need to see. And if you pack it right, you're going to get a better price. So it's improved tremendously. But they have got challenges, and I think one of the biggest challenges they have is transport. There's one truck coming up from Limpopo, and he's just got, the truck is full. And it takes hours and hours to offload it. And you need your products on the floor 4 o'clock in the morning already. It must be out, displayed already. Now, if that truck arrives only at 9 o'clock in the morning, yeah, you're only going to sell it the next day.
You missed the day.
And you missed the day. So the problem that I see for these farmers is they need a reliable transporter to bring it to the markets, the regional markets. One of the biggest problems, of course, packaging is expensive. So, they try and use the cheapest packaging. So that affects price. People pack in bags. It's already been accepted, and a lot of people buy it like that. But you got to educate the people. You got to educate them to what is really the core requirements on the market, or not just the requirements, is what the people like, the buyer, what he wants on the floor, what he wants to see, how it is packed. So it's an educational journey that we go through with it. And you can see, I've seen it now over the last 3 or 4 years. It's improved 100-fold, 100 times. Much better than what it was. Even the transport is getting better. But I would still like to see the transport maybe getting there earlier, instead of just arriving at 9 o'clock in the morning, or maybe 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Then it's chaos. So that's challenges for the up-and-coming farmer.
So you as an agent, you've obviously got this experience, and you understand, the buying side of the market as well. Do you actively go out, and educate these guys? Is there an opportunity to do something like that? Just say, look, guys, go out
we
to
try.
Wapani's Farmers Association, spend a morning with them, and hopefully build some trust, in assisting them in that respect.
Yeah. I can see the improvement since the guys that I've got on the floor now, that go out every weekend, and they meet in their communities. I can see what is coming back. Yeah. It's a huge improvement.
And this kind of information is being passed on.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is how you pack a box. This is how you...
Yeah. And there's... I've seen there's even been introduced different ways of selling, which I didn't even think of, and I didn't even think it was going to be popular. And now I see it's very popular. Peppers, the small size peppers, they used to throw it in the box, and it looks terrible. And now the guys have gone out and they said, listen, pack those small peppers in a big 20 kg bag. And now it's a big seller. It's a huge seller. And I wasn't going to buy it, but there's so many people that do buy it. Your informal sector buys it again because they take a bag of green peppers, a bag of yellow peppers, a bag of red peppers, and he goes and makes robots out of it. And he sells it again. So I didn't see that. And now I see it just happening.
It's working.
And it's working.
Okay, just maybe moving on then just to price discovery at the markets themselves. So we've got a sort of list of questions here with regards to sort of buying practices and selling practices. So is the market agency able to purchase from itself and then on-sell the produce later at a higher price? So buy, low in the beginning of the day on your own account and then sell later?
No. We don't do that
Take
at
a
all.
chance
No.
like, hey, that's taking a chance.
That's illegal. Yeah, no, that you don't do at all.
Yeah.
But what does happen, you have a buyer from Ladysmith. He phones you. I want to buy 1 pallet of bananas. You invoice him, he'll pay you, and we'll book it up. But there's no profit when he can't come to the market. So we're just facilitating his buying.
sale, yeah.
That's all it is.
Okay.
So no, that's. I don't think that happens actually, to be honest.
You never heard of it happening?
No. That's, if I do, I'll phone that farmer and tell him, hey, I can do better for you than that.
All right. Credit buying. Maybe explain that to us in layman's terms, how credit buying works. And in your view, does this have an impact on the price discovery process?
Exactly like I said, you'll have some buyers don't come to the market. They'll send their truck and they'll give you an order and you'll sell it to him and we'll book it up and he'll pay us. But we don't like giving credit because you're going to lose money somewhere. So it's a week or so, 2 days, but he pays you fairly soon after you've given to him.
And does that affect the price discovery process at all?
I don't think so, no.
It shouldn't.
No. I can't see how.
And then if given that a buyer would have a credit line with you, say you extended credit to a buyer, do they then get first produce available to preference on the day, or
Highest
so there's
price,
no incentives?
we'll get the best price, the first buyer will get it, whoever he is.
All right, and then just lastly, can a market agency issue a credit sale to itself and then on-sell this at a higher price? So I think I've just asked you that question.
Yeah,
anyway.
that's what you asked. No.
Yeah, all right. Okay, so reserve stock buying.
That's with the orders. Guy gives you order, so you might make a reservation for him so you don't forget.
Yeah, so that's all that is then.
Yeah, that's all it is.
And once again, no impact on the price.
No, not at all.
Okay, I think that's been answered. And then, so late sales or sales taking place outside of the normal trading hours?
Man, it's a very contentious thing. Yeah, you can ask the market will help you with that. You get their permission that the guy will load now and book in the morning. But it's not often that happens anymore. It used to happen more than what it does now.
No, it doesn't happen.
Yeah, not so often.
Not
anymore.
on the veggie side.
Because even the buyers, they know what to do. So your bigger buyers, it doesn't really happen much anymore now. So it also won't impact the price now.
I think that's all from us, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bowles. Mr. Murray, do you have any? Okay, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. Right, so I think I just have a couple of clarity-seeking questions. I think the first is the discussion about the difference between agency and the salesman or then the agent. When it comes to the commission fee, so that negotiated fee with the farmer, who negotiates that? Is it the agency that tells its salesman that this is the agency's rate, or is it down to the individual salesman to negotiate that on a sort of immediate basis?
No, you do it like agency, you charge the going rate. And then you deal with your salesman and you deal what cut he takes of that. But he doesn't deal with the farm with commissions now. We'll do that as agency.
I see. And then it's a comment that was that you made earlier about the margins being small for an agency. And I mean, just to clarify, essentially what it means is that, you know, of the entire sale, say, for example, 7.5 of that sale comes to you as your commission.
Yeah.
And that's your revenue. You've got to cover all your cost with that 7.5%. So maybe if you talk about margins being small, I mean, what are the sort of general costs for a market agency? And I mean, we don't have to be specific. I'm just talking about in general, if you're talking labor, rent. I just wanted to get a sense of, if we say margins are small, you have 7.5% that you generate your revenue from, and that is against your costs that you have. So I just want to get a sense of how
your
big...
Your biggest expense is your salesman. Because they take roughly 3%, they take. So you got 4.5% to run the business with. And you got, your wages is very expensive. Forklifts, very expensive. Diesel, very expensive. And you have to have staff in the office to pay farmers, do all the admin work. That all comes out of that. So margins are small, as you can see.
All right. And then my final question is, it's an issue that I think have come up a number of times, and I think it's this question, and we heard this morning about the difficulty with new agents, new entrants, small agents coming in. Particularly, we heard from the Council for Black Market Agents saying, well, their problem is because they don't have access to consistent produce, consistent supply. The farmers are all tied up with, you know, through historical relations.
Yeah.
So first of all, would you agree with that statement?
I would, yeah.
And I think secondly, it's the question of, well, how does one get around that? How does one solve that? To say, well, it's difficult for new entrants, particularly black new entrants, to enter as market agents because all of the produce has been tied up through historical relationships and trusts have been built. So how does a new entrant then, a new black entrant, enter into the agency?
The only way you can do it is by poaching salesmen from the other agents. That's the only way you can do it. To get a new guy on the floor, he's going to sit there, and you might find a good guy. It will take him at least 5-8 years before he can build anything. And by then, they're bankrupt. It takes time. That's the whole thing. It doesn't happen overnight. And you get good guys that come. Yeah. We've got a few good guys that have done well, but under our umbrella, and they're doing well. So to empower guys, to me, as salesmen is the right way. Because agency doesn't make huge money. There's not huge money. The salesmen, if you look at the figures, they make more than the agency at the end of the day. So if you can get salesmen, empower them, get them going, they're going to do better. And that's what we've been doing. And they are doing well now.
I mean, another solution, and I'd like your comment on this as well, is this idea about reserving certain offtake from producers specifically for black farmers. I mean, what is your comment about that? So in sense,
explain that. I don't
so going to a large producer and saying, all right, X percentage or a certain sub-brand or, you know, has to go to that black farmer. I mean, what would your comment be on that?
If you're a farmer, he's as tight as anybody else. He's like, I'll give you an example. Last year, very few citrus farmers made money in the country. It was a very bad year, exports. It was a very bad year, so very few made money. So they're counting their cents as much as we are. So for him to forego an income, he's going to do it. Where he knows he's getting this, he might get that. So I can't see the practicality of it. I don't think farmers will actually do that, to be honest. Because they want to know, I've got this, I must get so much for it. They can't gamble with their produce.
And I mean, if such a situation would arise, I mean, what would the impact be on DAPA? I mean, would that...
Nothing on us, no. It won't impact us at all, no.
As a matter of fact, if a farmer or any producer is willing to do that, and I think there has been farmers in the past. I think they've
tried. It has been tried.
They have done it. They have done it. If any farmer is willing to do that, That's right.
Yeah.
I would support it.
It's not going to affect us at all.
It will affect maybe somebody down the line, but it won't kill the industry
Yeah.
unless he doesn't do his job properly.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it has happened. It has happened.
Yeah.
And to the detriment of the
The farmer.
We sat with a lot. We looked after BEE companies under our.
We did all the bookwork for them.
We
We
did
do
the
all
bookwork.
the expenses.
We
We
did-
take over to
That's
try
why-
and help them. Yeah.
That's why I said, if anybody goes into the business, you mustn't just think it's commission. It's a business. You've got to run it as a business. And if you can do that, you can make it work. You can make it work. I'm sure.
So, and in your observations and in your experience, I mean, would that be one of the reasons or the main reason why small black agents have failed at Johannesburg, just simply because they couldn't meet the standards?
My comment is they came in with expectations of making
Expectations are too big, maybe.
huge money in a short period of time, and that is not. It won't work. If they come in there with the expectation of hard work,
Long term.
long term, and there is. I mean, I'll take a good example of Metro. Metro is
It's
still
doing well,
there,
yeah.
and his father's passed away, and his son has taken
And
the
they're doing
business
well.
over, and he's doing well.
But it's years. It
But-
didn't happen overnight. It's taken time.
Sam, Sam, eh?
Sam, yeah.
He's a good friend, and he passed on. But he's run that business for, well, longer than I've been there.
More than 30 years. But his two
yes.
sons are doing well now.
More than 20 years. He's been there.
So it is
And
possible, yeah.
It is possible. Nothing is, but he ran it as a business, and he's run it well.
But at the same time, even a new white agency is going to
No,
battle.
he'll never make it either.
It's the same principle. He's not going to make it because he's white with him. He's also going to battle. Just the way the industry is.
I see. Thank you, Chair.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Maybe just one last few questions, just on this theme of barriers to entry. So just maybe expand. I think you've said, relationship between agent and the farmer. It's really mostly also about trust.
Yeah.
But what is the commercial relationship between the agent and the farmer? What do you have to meet at a commercial level?
Well, we got to sell his product, and it's got to be viable that he makes money on it. Because, especially in the citrus industry now, they've got options. They can supply juice. So he'll work out the juice price for me, transport, commission, and packing. Give me a price. Can I do better or worse? If it's worse, he won't supply. So I've got to guarantee he'll do better than that. Then he'll supply me. So it's about money. He wants to make money, we want to make money. But the farmer especially, he's also under a lot of pressure. But luckily they've got options now. Juice they can sell off the farm to buckies, and he works out. That's my break even. Can you get me more? If you can't, you tell me, I don't send. So it's not just that they send all the time. They work out now. They work out commercially. Is it worth their while or not? And I have to make it worth their while.
Can we confirm if you say, are there any agreements? I just want to confirm.
Nothing.
Are there any agreements, written
Nothing.
or otherwise?
Nothing. There's not one agreement with one farmer. He supplies you because he trusts you. That's it. If that trust is gone, you lose him. He goes somewhere else. There's no written agreements, not with us anyway.
So in citrus, what makes you strong in citrus?
Experience. Experience, been there a long time, and I know the industry very well. So I built up a good name with farmers. They trust me. And I do well for them. I have to do well for them.
So on the floor in Johannesburg, how many other agents would be selling?
There's 14
citrus?
agents. They're all trying to sell.
Are they also selling citrus? I'm looking at the
They can, yeah.
citrus floor. say oranges?
I say 60%, and the market is 40%. The other 14 agents.
Okay.
That's roughly how it works.
Right. So when we talk about that floor and price discovery, so when you say supply, of course you say price is determined by
Supply and demand, yeah.
But you supply the bulk in some areas.
Yes, yeah.
What pricing power do you have? Do you,
Well,
are the days when you have less on?
yeah,
Or are
yeah.
the days-
Every day is different.
And
Every
days when you
single
have
day.
more,
Yeah.
who determines the price?
Yeah.
You or
Yeah,
how
that's
does
what I
it
would
work?
do.
I just want to.
No, that's exactly.
You are
because
the sub. Okay.
I can give you an example
please,
of that.
Please, yeah.
Last year was a bad citrus year. There was a lot of stock, and I think at one stage I had maybe 300,000 bags of orange on my floor. I was in serious trouble because if you don't sell, you throw away, then you lose your farmer. So I got a hold of a supermarket and did a special with him. And we moved all that stock in 1 week, but I had to drop the price. I explained to the farmers, and then we lifted again after that. If I'd hung on and not dropped the price, I'd have thrown 100,000 away, which I never did in the end. But I had to sell too cheap, but it moved the stock. So it's every day you check in the market, every single day.
No, thanks for that. So I just want, so on the price transmission, do you track the price all the way to retail? Say
No, we don't.
So when you
We sell, we sold.
so you don't over time see how other channels are performing. So you sell your citrus, I say citrus broadly,
Yeah,
and what maybe major retailers are selling.
I
Do
do.
you ever track?
I do keep an idea, but nothing formal. But I do have an idea of who's selling what.
So at the price level.
Yeah, because I tell you what, because our buyers do that. He'll come to me and say, "Why is Checkers selling 39.99? I'm paying you 40 rand. Why is he selling 39?" So you know from your buyers, they know what's going on. They'll say, "Pick n Pay's having a special. Why are they so cheap? Why am I paying more by you?" So it's interaction every single day.
So from your experience, when you look at this, the price system, the pricing in the chain, what have been your observations as to the gap between the prices at
With
the
citrus,
markets and retail?
With
Yeah.
citrus, it's not very high.
Okay.
It's a very competitive item. So the buyers don't make a lot of money on citrus. It's actually well priced. If I sell for 30 rand, most of them will sell 39.99. There's not excessive markups. If you mark up excessively, you're not going to sell.
Are there other products where you have observed maybe that the gap is a bit wider?
You know, I don't think so. I think it's a very competitive industry, especially because you've got the market. Whereas like amazing things might be different, but with the market, it's very competitive.
Just maybe two more questions for you. You have noted in your submission, and I think the impact of the direct purchases
Yeah.
by the retailers, and what that would do for price discovery and I suppose the future of the market. Can you expand?
I can give you an
on that?
idea. If there was no direct selling, the price would be much higher. Because we'll have the control on the floor. You'll have more buyers. So you've taken the bigger buyers off the market. And those bigger buyers could force the price up. Now they sit there, look at the market, that's the price, that's what they give the farmer. But if that product was on the market and those buyers were on the market, the price would be higher, definitely.
For the farmer.
Yeah, for the farmer. But because they're now watering down the system by selling direct, and they're using our price to determine the price. It's not coming to the market. It's going straight to them. So if there was no direct sales, the market would be much higher because you have all the buyers there, all competing for the same product. But I understand the supermarkets can't buy on the market. They're too big. The logistics would actually kill them. So That can't happen.
Right. And on this question of transformation, I think you say how many years? 40 years you've been in the industry.
Yeah, me personally.
40 years, personal years. And what's your view on this? Because I think it seems there are real challenges.
There are real challenges.
Real challenges at the of participation. And I think the barriers you have mentioned, it seems.
Yeah.
It seems.
We've tried to
quite
help.
huge.
We've had 2 agents we took them under our wing. And what we did is we took all the expenses. We did the office work for them. We offloaded for them to try and help them to get going. And it worked. It worked a bit to a point. Then it became personalities, which became a problem. But we've done it on 2 agencies now. We've tried to help.
As a matter of fact, we're still busy with
Yeah, we're still with one now.
We've still got one.
It's
that
actually
we're
going
looking
all right,
after,
yeah.
But broadly, I think, let me just, because I just want to get a sense also from you before we let you go. If, just also as an agent, if you have identified and made any observations of any distortions in the market. So just, because we are looking at the fresh produce
Industry,
chain,
yes.
right? So from the farmer to retail, even inputs, but I think there maybe you may not be able to give any opinions. But what, if any, what are the challenges broadly that you have observed or distortions, and what can be done about those? I just want to get a sense from you if
Talking about the market.
the market broadly, so not DEPA as the agent.
Yeah, the market facility has to be upgraded. Cold rooms, ripening rooms. That's where we're falling behind. And the farmer's losing on that. Our cold rooms have to be upgraded and the ripening processes. And floor space, we need more space. So the market as an entity, they have to invest in the market. Because the market's producing, I don't know, how many billions is the market turnover now a year?
About 4.2, if I'm not
A month, a month.
No,
Oh, a year.
per annum.
Yeah, but they're not putting back in the market. We need the facility to improve. That's a big challenge for us. And we're working with them, we're trying. We're trying, but it's very difficult.
What I believe is, it is a problem, it's a major problem. We cannot afford for an outside company to ripen our bananas outside the market. Because as soon as they do that, you
We'll lose
dilute in the
business,
market.
yeah.
So if if all those facilities are up to scratch like it should be, we should be attracting much
We'll
more
attract
farmers.
more growers to the market,
Much more
yeah.
farmers. We can't afford a banana farmer to go outside the market, ripen it, and then come and sell it at our prices. It's going to kill the market, and we cannot afford to lose a regional market like this. It feeds too many people.
Yeah.
It looks. I wish you could be there on a good Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and you see the amount of people that just flow. You can read the floor. You can read what you're going to do that day. You can feel it. You can feel it. Just the people walking down. It's unbelievable. And I come out of a totally different industry, and I've only been there 20 years, and it's changed the way I think about things. This is dynamic. It's dynamic. And it's anybody is there. The oldest mama you can think of. The oldest mama that you can think of that can hardly walk. She's there. She comes and buys the tomatoes.
Yeah.
And she makes a living. One day I'll see her buying 1 box, and 3 weeks later I'll see she's buying 20 boxes, 30 boxes. And it's dynamic.
Yeah.
It's dynamic. So, yeah, without the market, I think we lost.
Yeah.
I really think we lost. And if we build the market even stronger, it should accommodate everybody. It should accommodate everybody.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Unless if you have any closing remarks you want to give.
No, I'm happy.
No,
Thank you.
I'm very happy.
You done? Thank
All
you
right,
very
then
much.
Thank you very much. You are excused.
Thanks
you.
very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm with that. Thanks. Thanks, Dilly. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much.
I just hope we can help. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much.
I just hope we can help.